I've had countless sessions with the Governor General. I've been in his presence so many times and it's truly an honor. I think what makes it so easy for not only me but the other young people who have that opportunity is that he's such a people person and he loves young people.
Ibrahim, I am very proud of you being an I Believe ambassador.
I've had countless sessions with the
Tell
Governor
me
General.
what your experience has
I've been in his presence so many times and it's truly an honor. I think what makes it so easy for not only me but the other young people who have that opportunity is that he's such a people person and he loves young people.
Ibrahim, I am very proud of you being an I Believe ambassador.
I've had countless sessions with the
Tell
Governor
me what your
General.
experience has
I've been in his presence so many times and it's truly an honor. And I think what makes it so easy for not only me but the other young people who have that opportunity is that he's such a people person. I think what stands out for me the most about the GGPE is that somehow it manages to bring all the creative minds, all the innovators, the thinkers, the problem solvers from across Jamaica together in one setting. If investors, if companies want the best minds, they have to play an integral role in creating an atmosphere or sustaining a program that will help these creative minds to grow. An incubator, so to speak. I think this program is a good incubator for the leaders.
The people who have received these awards, the students who we help to get educated and who will come back and be the workers we want to employ, who will contribute to the building of the nation. That's a feeling that every company in Jamaica should want to experience. It is a great way for us to develop the youth.
So thank you, Ibrahim, and we wish you all the best as you continue to pursue your personal goals and the goals which can be useful in the development of our country.
Thank you.
We appreciate your service.
It is the volunteers of this nation that keep this nation alive and active, and it is a rewarding exercise. Through this act, it is my hope that others will replicate your example to energize their communities.
Guess we have to hold on a bit. Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to our National Youth Dialogue under the theme Youth, Education and Innovation, Ensuring Inclusivity in the Era of COVID-19. And I'm not sure if you can see, but I have on my social distancing shirt, which I think was very fitting for the theme that we have here today, because, you know, it's just our reality in this current time. And so we want to ensure that, you know, we're all engaged and we're all getting the information that we need to live through these times and also transition as we move beyond COVID-19. So, you know, I'm going to be your moderator for today. If you missed the name, I am Michaela Gonzalez. Just to give you a little background, I recently completed my Master's of Science in Economics. I am also an executive member of the Youth Advisory Council for UNESCO. And in the middle of the pandemic, because, you know, we have to talk about Corona, I decided to quit my job and I started my own math tutoring company, because I am, and anybody who knows Michaela knows how passionate I am about education and in specific math education. So, you know, I've been doing my part, you know, during the pandemic, and I'm pretty sure during the session, you're going to be sharing with me how you have been impacting Jamaica and maybe even internationally, you know, the scene of education and how we can be innovative in these times. So this dialogue is taking place on the heels of the 75th anniversary of the United Nations, as well as, you know, we're in the midst, as I said, of the global pandemic, which of course is affecting Jamaica, it's affecting the entire world. So our hashtags for today will be hashtag UN75, as well as hashtag UN Jamaica. That again, hashtag UN75, the number 75. Maybe we can have our assistants put that in the chat just so that, you know, everybody has it properly written, as well as hashtag UN Jamaica. So right throughout the dialogue, I encourage you to share this information, you know, on your different social media platforms. Of course, this is for us, but this is also, you know, for us to reach into our little circles and ensure that everybody is getting the information. I also purposely chose the jacket with the newspaper because I feel like it's so important for us to get in the right information, as well as we can also be, you know, the newspapers and the magazines by putting out information as well. You know, of course, no fake news or anything like that. We want to ensure that we're speaking from an informed perspective. So in this time, of course, there is a greater need for young people especially to come together, for, you know, our voices to be heard about the issues that are affecting us. And, you know, today specifically, we're going to focus a lot on education and innovation as it's impacting our young people. So we are proud of our event partners. You know, we always have to big up the sponsors and the partnerships that we have. So I definitely want to single out two in specific. We have the Governor General's Program of Excellence, which is the I Believe initiative. And the video that was just playing now, I think, displayed just precisely how impactful it is, you know, how it's allowing young people, you know, to make a change in Jamaica. You even hear the other person, it gave them an avenue to, you know, create impact on an even international stage. And so I just want to say, you know, a big thank you to the team over at the Governor General's Program for Excellence and everybody who is in that arena. We also want to highlight the United Nations Association of Jamaica, the UNAJ. And for those of you who may not know what they do, they are the civil society organization which has been working to promote the UN principles in Jamaica. So for example, they go into the schools and they engage using, you know, like the UN clubs. If there's anybody here from any of the UN clubs, be sure to let us know, you know, what your experience has been. You know, maybe it may influence somebody else to join a UN club as well. So I also want to give a special welcome. I hear that we have Mr. Mitchell Watson with us, the president of the UNAJ. And so we want to say welcome to you, as well as a special thank you to his team, you know, for all of the effort and support that they gave us in making today successful. So before we really get into today's proceedings, I would like for us to play a video, which I think is going to set the context for what we're going to be talking about today, as well as, you know, what we're maybe just, you know, what your appetite a little bit to the discussion. So we're going to play a video, and then when I come back, I will give you some more information.
Our world is facing unprecedented challenges. Climate change is altering natural balance, our precious wildlife is struggling to survive. We are battling a new era of conflict and violence. There's the disruptive impact from digital technologies and shifting demographics with gaping inequalities. Now, a global epidemic is reshaping our world as we know it. We are at a crossroad at a time when our world seems so divided. Our world is struggling to breathe. For the United Nations 75th anniversary, we set out to ask the world, what are your hopes for your future?
If you could choose one thing to say to the UN, to world leaders about the future, what would that be?
In January 2020, the United Nations launched a global initiative to have the world's largest conversation on the future we want. Discussions have taken place in all settings, from classrooms to boardrooms, parliaments to village halls across the world, in order to reach as many people as possible. The United Nations listened, and the world spoke.
Justice, equality, and freedom for all.
People can really be in peace and with dignity, because our dignity was taken away from us because of our religion and because of who we are. And I hope that we are the last community who are suffering of those problems.
Health is often looked at as an expense. It is not. It is an investment.
We change by exchanging without losing ourselves.
We have run out of excuses and we are running out of time.
If we don't stop the destruction of our natural world, nothing else will matter.
More than ever before, we need solidarity, hope, and the political will to see this crisis through together.
From what we have heard, the world is not as divided as we thought. The global economy, healthcare, sanitation, education, and the hardest places hit are our top priorities from recovering from the pandemic. In response to COVID-19, greater international solidarity is urgently needed. The threat of climate change and destruction of our natural environment is the biggest fear for the future. We need increased efforts to reduce conflict and violence, and we aspire to further protect human rights. For optimism about our future, we need to look to our young people. The overwhelming majority of us believe global cooperation is more vital than ever.
Every time we fail to find solutions to global challenges, the most vulnerable people in our societies are hit the hardest.
Throughout history, we have accomplished unimaginable things, propelling each generation further than the last. There is no limit to the amount of good we can achieve together to make this world, our world, a better place. The challenges before us are universal, and we know that these challenges demand global solutions. We have the blueprint to achieve a better and more sustainable future for all. The Sustainable Development Goals. In 2045, the United Nations 100th year, let's see the change we have implemented today that will shine a light on our children's tomorrow.
Change is coming. The real power belongs to the people.
And I want to turn the question inside out as well. I will not ask, how dare you? Instead, I will ask, do you dare to?
This is the most urgent of times and the most urgent of messages. Now must be our moment for action.
Wow, what an impactful and powerful video. As Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohammed said, every time we fail to come together around global issues and respond to the crisis effectively, the ones greatest hit will be the most vulnerable. And I'm pretty sure we all can say for ourselves that the most vulnerable happen to oftentimes be our young people. Now, while watching the video, there was a specific question asked that, what if you had the opportunity to say the one thing you would want to, make an impact in this pandemic or just to change your world in this time to, the world leaders, what would you say? And so today we do have some giveaways, and I'm actually going to start by charging you to, whether it is on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, I would like for you to comment that one thing you'd want to say to your global leaders, but ensure that you also tag 3 friends and the UN Jamaica pages, right? So it's at UN Jamaica on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. So remember, you're going to tell us the one thing you'd want to say to your global leaders, tag 3 friends as well as UN Jamaica. And the first 3 persons to do that, my assistants here, they will let me know who the winners are, and we will be giving them prizes later on during the presentations. So I also want to share with you, we have a survey. I'm not sure, I know some persons would have filled it out before, but for those of you who have not, you can go to un75.online. I'm going to ask for this to be shared in the chat so that you guys can have it, to go and do. It's only 4 questions, and I was told it should only take 1 minute to complete. So please, I'm asking for you to use your voice and ensure that you fill out the survey before the end of today's proceedings. We would really, appreciate your feedback. It's not just about you attending here. We want to hear your voice, and we want to ensure that we give you a seat at the table. So to deliver our official welcoming remarks today is the United Nations Resident Coordinator for Jamaica, Bahamas, Bermuda, Cayman, and the Turks and Caicos Islands, Dr. Gary Conille. He is a former Prime Minister of Haiti. The trained medical doctor, Mr. Gary Conille, joined the UN country team in Jamaica after serving as UN Resident Coordinator in Burundi. Before that, he also served under the Secretary General for Programs and Operations with the International Federation of the Red Cross and Red Crescent Society.
Video. You have to let me in.
And it's technology, guys. This is exactly why we have innovation. We're all working through it. So right, as I was going along with all of his great accomplishments, he is the world's largest, sorry about that. So right, I was telling you that before that, he served under the Secretary General for Programs and Operations with the International Federation of the Red Cross and the Red Crescent Societies. And I was saying that that is one of the world's largest humanitarian networks. His extensive experience as a development practitioner includes over 20 years in the UN system. Yes, I said over 20 years, among other functions as Regional Director of UN Ops Africa region and the head of the UNDP's Millennium Development Goals, the MDG Support Unit. In the wake of the Haiti's 2010 earthquake, Mr. Conille served as Chief of Staff to the Office of the Special Envoy for Haiti, former United States President Bill Clinton, where he helped Haiti and he coordinated the reconstruction efforts. And of course, he's making an impact, and he's going to share all these wonderful things with us today, as well as, his charge for us as young people, during this session and how we're going to move out of the pandemic. One final thing, and in addition, in 2012, he served as senior advisor to the Liberian President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf in her role as co-chair of the UN High-Level Panel on the post-2015 development agenda. Now, I know that was a mouthful, but when you have so much that you have done, we have to include all of it, just so that you can also appreciate, the persons who you are in the presence of, and understand that, we have pulled from the best of the best to be a part of this discussion today, not because only of competence, but also because of the experience that they have and, what we know they will add to this discussion. So without, any further ado, we would definitely like to give a warm welcome, and I know it's over the internet, but we can maybe just put the little clapping hands or something. Everybody can give me a yes in the chat. If you're ready for Mr. Gary Conneal, everybody can give me a ready in the chat. Give me a ready, guys. Are we getting the readies? Are you ready? All right, so let's welcome Mr. Gary Conneal.
Good afternoon, everybody, and really so much, Michaela. What an exciting opening and an exciting opportunity. Let me just maybe start really quickly by thanking all the speakers and panelists who will share with us today. Really welcome to all of you. Let me also personally express my thanks to the Honorable Minister Fayval Williams, Minister of Education, Youth and Information, who has accepted to join us here today at later in the afternoon, despite her very busy schedule. Today, we join UN country teams around the world who have been hosting national conversations with citizens, primarily the youth, as part of our UN 75 anniversary consultations. We are very pleased to be partnering with the Governor General's Program for Excellence and the UN Association for Jamaica for this event. The United Nations recognizes that our 75-year-old institution can do more in its role to create a better future for all. We need to evolve. We want to do better. We want to respond to your aspirations and concerns. And if we take specifically for the purpose of this discussion, the area of education, really all you need to do is look into the eyes of a child and you instinctively know the future belongs to the learner. And if you look into your own eyes in the mirror and you instinctively know humanity is on a critical learning journey and we must literally learn our way into a better future. Yet the World Bank is telling us that as a result of school closures, 25% more students may fall below the baseline levels of proficiency needed to participate effectively and productively in society and future learning. The August 2020 UN policy brief, Education During COVID and Beyond, estimates that variable online and distant, very variable distance and online learning. Distance learning in high income countries cover about 80 to 85%, while this drops to less than 50% in low income countries. Today, connection fuels learning, but inclusion and empathy are the preconditions that ensure learning takes us in the right direction. Now more than ever, being digitally connected is vital to life itself, and those without a secure and reliable digital connection are at an unacceptably widening disadvantage. The COVID-19 outbreak continues to disrupt school and education, not just because it demands an evolution in online learning, but because it demands revolution to close the dangerous gap of digital inequality in learning. COVID-19 has rapidly rewritten all of our realities, demanding that we learn as much and as fast as we can. As the UN, we recognize the important and active role that young people have to play in helping us solve these very difficult issues, and of course on implementing the 2030 agenda. And so we look forward to today's discussion and are pleased to be highlighting young people's voices and ideas to help accelerate the inclusion of youth-related objectives in the COVID-19 response and recovery and the advancement of our SDGs. I am truly encouraged by young people like Samantha Johnson, not only on the front lines of the COVID-19 response, but who also volunteers her time mobilizing for health education and gender equality. I am encouraged by young men like Shamir Sadler, promoting innovative use of technology to drive access and equality in education at a time of social distancing. And I find hope in youth like Sujay Boswell, who continues to coalesce the many voices of young people and represent their issues and concerns across various spaces of leadership in government and academia. You are all true champions of a more sustainable world. And I look forward to hearing from all of you today and learning from your experience and expertise as we gather all the intelligence needed to build back better from the pandemic. In our part, the United Nations through UNICEF and UNESCO in Jamaica has been supporting the procurement of digital technology as well as training and distance learning approaches to reach the most off-the-path communities of students so that they too may have a greater chance of continued learning. Through the European Union funded program Spotlight Initiative, we are also utilizing information communication technology to maintain referral pathways and telecounseling service for women and girls and others impacted by gender-based violence. I commend the government of Jamaica for the myriad of efforts undertaken to respond to the digital divide. Blended approaches to distance learning, as well as providing tablets and computers to teachers and students, are a necessary step towards increasing access to education, especially at this time. I'm looking forward to today's keynote presenter, Malik Mbaye of Facebook, a well-appointed voice in digital innovation. Malik, as a young person at heart myself, I am eager to learn from your wealth of experience doing product marketing across the world, as well as your work as a young entrepreneur. I have also been told that you are no stranger to Jamaica and have even worked with some Jamaican companies. So I'm looking forward to hearing some more about that. For this generation to deliver on its promise, we need to invest much more in the inclusion and participation of young people, as well as their organizations and their initiatives. So I'll close by joining Jamaica's youth and Secretary General Antonio Gutierrez in calling on leaders in government, the private sector, the tech community, academia, and the global public sector to take concrete action together to address the most pressing issues of the digital age, including access to education. In doing so, we enable the youth of Jamaica and the world to enjoy lives of safety, dignity, and opportunity, and we contribute to the fullest of their great potential. Once again, thank you, and it's really an honor and a pleasure to join you in these discussions today. Back to you, Michaela.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. Mr. Corneille, you are not only young in spirit, you're also young in ideas. I see the innovation, you are leading the charge, and I'm just thoroughly impressed. I think I have seen many persons right now who aren't necessarily considered youth in terms of the bracket that we use to define youth, but they have stepped forward, they have put together the ideas, they have supported their young people, not only with words, but with actions. I see you speaking about training. I love when, our leaders not only tell us what to do, but they stand beside us and they ensure that, they're giving us the tools we need to make that change. Mr. Corneille, you also spoke about that the digital divide is more present and more evident than ever before, just because everything now we have to use technology. I can personally speak that even though I am young in age, I am not so young with this technology thing. And so, when I started teaching math and I transitioned to my company, I was used to teaching math, face to face. And I quickly had to learn how to use Zoom. To be honest, the first time I wasn't sure how to use the pad, and even my friends will tell you I'm very not young when it comes on to this technology thing. But again, I got the support that of my students. They had to be the ones to teach me how to use some of the things. Sometimes when they're talking in the chats, they said, Miss, you have to mute everybody, just to ensure that, there's no disruption. So, we're all learning during this process. That was a great welcome. I think you gave us a great context for, why we're here, what type of work is being done, and, how everybody can get involved as we move forward. Okay, so the UN is currently in the process of developing its Common Country Analysis, the CCA, which is a common instrument of the United Nations system to analyze the national development situation, and it's where we identify key development issues, of course, focusing on the SDGs. And today we will have a number of pop-up questions to get your input, because as I said, it's you being here is one thing, but we want you to be involved. We want to hear your opinions. We want to hear, you don't have to agree with everybody as well. If our speaker says something and you would say, okay, I would disagree, of course we're going to do so respectfully, but it's okay to present your differing ideas. We just really want to ensure that we're having a fruitful discussion. Before I invite our next presenter, I want to encourage you to use our hashtags UN75 as well as UN Jamaica. That is UN75, of course, the hashtag, and then hashtag UN Jamaica, and that's on Twitter, you know, your Facebook, you know, Instagram, all of that. You can tag your friends. I'm pretty sure you're watching here. Have you told 3 friends that you're watching here? If everybody on the Zoom has told at least 3 persons that they're involved in this, type yes. Let's see how many yeses we're going to get in the chat, right? Guys, be honest, no, you know, not because I'm not there. Okay. Well, we want to ensure everybody that it's not only about you getting the information, you want to invite other persons. We're talking about inclusivity, allow for persons to be here themselves and to get involved. You know, even if it's not through the Zoom, they can, I believe we're also streaming on YouTube, which will be good. Sarah told 15. I think Sarah needs a prize. Sarah, I'll be in contact with you shortly. Sarah is definitely getting a prize. All right, so I have Miss Renee Johnson here, and she's going to tell us some more about that, you know, country analysis I was speaking about, and I believe it's the Mentimeter.
Right.
So we're going to invite her into the frame, of course. Come on, give her a big welcome. Give her a big welcome.
Hi, Michaela. How are you doing today?
I'm doing completely fine with these lovely guests.
Right. So as Michaela said, we're doing the common country analysis. And I think the video that started earlier was the perfect segue into the common country analysis. We want to hear your voice. What do you think are the development issues, socioeconomic development issues for Jamaica, and what do we need to do to move towards our not only the sustainable development goals, but our national development goals?
Right.
So we have a few, in fact, 4 questions, 5 questions, where we want to hear. They're pretty easy, multiple choice. And we also have ratings, you know, from a scale of 1 to 10. What do you, 1 to 5 actually?
Okay.
You know, do you agree or disagree? What do you think? How the future would look for Jamaica? And then we have that one thing or one word that you would say you'd want to see, or what is crucial for Jamaica. Right. So we want to hear the youth voice, and then we can invite you we'll send out the survey. We'll have a bigger survey that you can actually participate in, so we can get that link in the chat and send it out, so we can participate and send it different. But the youth voice is important for us as part of the common, because at the end of the day, we're developing the country.
Yes. For the young people, so we want to hear your voices.
Exactly.
Right?
What do you need? So, I mean, I can stand here and say anything, but what do you really need? So we're coming with those questions shortly. I think we'll see them going up shortly.
Right.
And you can respond, and then we can talk about it a little bit. And you can do them at your own pace, or we can do them at our own pace.
No, we want to do them now.
You want to do them now?
All right, let's do them now. Let's get some interaction. Everybody, are we posting a link in the chat? Or something maybe they could. Okay, we're gonna, to make it so easy for you, because I believe in one of the presentations earlier, they said it's the time of no excuses, right? So if you're posting the link in the chat, I think you have no excuse but to just click on it. It's very short. And of course, as I said, the most important thing about you being here is not just watching and, you know, seeing my pretty mask and, you know, a pretty dress. No, it's about hearing your voice. So we really wanted to use this opportunity. So once, you know, our technical team puts the link in the chat, you can go ahead and do that.
Right, it's populating. There's stuff coming up, don't we?
So we're seeing the results.
We're seeing the results. And listen to me, as Michaela said, we want to hear your voice. We're leaving no one behind. I think that's a big theme of UN75. We're leaving no one behind. So we want to hear everybody's voice. How many people have online? How many people do we have online?
80.
80. So we want 80 responses.
I say 80 times 3 because everybody's supposed to tell 3 people. So I'm saying 80 times 3 and I do math. So that's 240.
Just like that. So when we get to about 200, and 200 is how much? What percentage of 240?
All right, so we went a little bit far here. You know, it's so funny that person think because you're good at math, like, you know, you can do math really good in your head. I've actually never been good at it, guys. So I won't even attempt because I don't know it's the times of social media. I'll end up on Twitter. Oh, she said she can't do math. No, it's fine. I'll pass
that's
that
96, but I can't correct. That's about 80-something percent. That's 80-something percent, I believe. If my mind is about.
Yeah, it's probably about that.
All right, so we want 80 to 90%. Of the 240.
Yeah, I believe the persons who are here were not going to be, you know, just talkers. We're about action. And so we want to ensure that you being here, you're really about ensuring that, you know, your voice translates into decisions. So many times we complain that, you know, we're seeing the issues, we're talking to the issues to our friends, but then we don't know what happens after that, or we're not equipped to be at the decision-making table. And I think that's what UN, or that's what I know UN is doing here. You know, and with my personal experience since being a part of the UN team, I can say what I love the most about my UN family is that they don't just talk about including young people. At every stage of the decision-making process, the young people are engaged, and then I can literally see our responses and our feedback implemented. Of course, not all the way, because we're still, you know, growing, and there's room for, you know, the persons with more experience to be, you know, the ones giving the bulk of the suggestions. But of course, they ensure to include their young people at all times. So I believe, is there anything else relating to the Mentimeter? Well, I will be posting the link again maybe further down in case anybody hops on, because remember, everybody is telling 3 persons. So but hopefully by the end of the chat I should see those numbers increasing. So grab 3 of your friends and tell them to hop on over to the Zoom call. And we're going to go to the next presentation shortly. I wanted to highlight that the survey I spoke about earlier, the UN survey, that is different from the Mentimeter, right? So I don't know if we could maybe post the 2 links just so that it's reinforced that it's 2 separate surveys, right? So the UN survey is the one with the 4 questions, which should take only a minute, which means everybody should have done that already, and it's behind you. And then this is for the Mentimeter. So I hope we will get those responses, and hopefully we can even share some feedback on that with you before we are finished. Okay, so if there's nothing more from Renee, which, you know, was a great presentation. I see that she was engaging you. We are going to move to our presentation from the Honorable Fable Williams, who is the Minister of Education, Youth and Information. Now, Mrs. Williams is a chartered financial analyst by profession. She has an MBA with concentration in finance from the Wharton Business School at the University of Pennsylvania. And she also has a BA in economics from the Harvard University in Cambridge. Mrs. Williams was elected Member of Parliament for St. Andrew Eastern, fix the mask, in the recent general election, and was the former Executive Director of Kingston Properties Limited and a Director at JMMB. She served and led in a number of financial institutions, including work in investment research and policy development. You know, to be honest, I didn't know that our Honorable Minister had so many other skill sets going on for her. I'm actually very impressed. I think she should also be contributing to the Ministry of Finance. Wow, she's phenomenal. And right, and of course, being our youth minister, especially in this global pandemic, I'm very happy to hear that she has this finance background, you know, so that as well she can manage the budget properly to ensure that we are getting the most value. You know, we spoke about, Dr. Cornel spoke about, you know, using the technology and ensuring that persons will have the tablets and devices. That's going to take money, right? So we have to ensure that we have proper management so that as best as possible, as many lives can be touched. So we are definitely looking forward to her presentation. Just before we do that, is everybody still with me? Can I get a yes in the chat? If everybody is still with me, just let me get a yes in the chat before we go to our presentation. Right? So yeses, thumbs up, just give me some interaction. Give me something. Let me know that you're still here. You're not scrolling on Instagram and forgetting about me. Are we getting the reactions? All right. Just have to make sure. All right, well, help me welcome Minister Williams. And while we're waiting for Minister Williams to come up, just remember we're using our hashtag UN75 and hashtag UN Jamaica. Are we ready now, team? All right, we're good to go.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Let me begin by acknowledging Ms. Gonzalez, moderator and executive of the Youth Advisory Board for UNESCO, Mr. Gary Cornel, UN Resident Coordinator, and Mr. Malek Mbe, Product Marketing Manager and Entrepreneur. First, may I express my appreciation for the invitation to participate in this year's UN 75 Youth Dialogue Forum. I also take the opportunity to welcome Mr. Gary Connell as UN Resident Coordinator in Jamaica. May you have a productive and enjoyable tenure during your stay here, Mr. Connell. Congratulations are also in order for all the partners responsible for organizing this forum. United Nations Jamaica, the Governor General's Program for Excellence, and the UN Association for Jamaica. The United Nations has played a significant role these past 75 years in fostering dialogue among nations working towards international peace, addressing issues of international security, human rights, and sustainable development. It is commendable, therefore, that our young people should be part of the global dialogue addressing these concerns. Indeed, you are the ones who will take up the baton in the medium to long term in continuation of the pursuit of peace and development for all. For more than 5 decades, Jamaica has played an outstanding role in the United Nations system, helping to focus international attention on significant matters such as human rights, the anti-apartheid struggle, decolonization, economic cooperation and indebtedness, and women's issues. We recall that just a year after becoming a member of the United Nations, at the 1963 General Assembly, the late Hugh Shearer, speaking on behalf of then Prime Minister Sir Alexander Bustamante, proposed that 1968 be designated the International Year for Human Rights to mark the 20th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Jamaica has served on the United Nations Security Council and on the Economic and Social Council on a number of occasions. Jamaica's representatives have frequently been elected to the governing council of several specialized agencies and other bodies in the United Nations organization. Many outstanding public servants representing Jamaica have served the United Nations system well. Among them, the late Don Mills, Jamaica's ambassador to the United Nations from 1973 to 1981, and Dr. Lucille Matherin Mayer, the first woman to hold the title of Under-Secretary General of the United Nations in 1982. She also served as Secretary General of the World Conference of the United Nations Decade for Women in 1980. Between 1981 and 82, she served as Special Advisor to UNICEF on women's development. Between 1982 and 1987, she was the Secretary General of the United Nations Conference on Palestine, and in 1992 was appointed Jamaica's permanent representative to the United Nations. Your theme, youth, education and innovation, and national dialogue, is particularly timely given the heightened focus on the use of information communication technology, ICT, in education amidst the continuing challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic. The government recognizes that we have no choice but to accelerate the pace at which our young people are exposed to the latest technology in order to gain the skills needed for the 21st century. We're helping our educators to acquire the tools to enable them to teach and prepare our young people for today's and tomorrow's world. In doing so, we're also creating opportunities for our young people to tap their nascent creativity, to bring their best ideas to the table for economic and social development as part of the national dialogue on sustainable development. The Vision 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and its 17 Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, provide a blueprint to achieve a better and more sustainable future for all. They seek to take a holistic approach to addressing the global challenges we face, including those related to education, poverty, inequity, climate change, environmental degradation, peace, and justice. The 2030 Agenda also seeks to promote collaborative partnerships at all levels in order to leave no one behind. The government appreciates, of course, that while the SDGs are global in nature, their achievement will depend heavily on our ability to make them a reality at the national and community levels. Therefore, all of us have a role to play in fostering dialogue and in the implementation of national plans of action that benefit the entire society. Jamaica looks forward to the strengthening of the long-standing bonds of friendship and cooperation that exist with the United Nations system in Jamaica through continued engagement at the bilateral level. We believe in creating a world of global thinkers and shapers who will support this agenda. This is why we have the Youth Advisory Council of Jamaica, which is intended to facilitate continuous engagement of young people in youth development policy and programming actions of the government of Jamaica. Our Jamaica Youth Ambassadors Program is a strategy to promote youth advocacy and facilitate their participation in decision-making processes. Our Youth Ambassadors Program allows for advocacy and educating young people as per issues defined through consultations in the CARICOM Youth Ambassadors Program, the Commonwealth Youth Program, and the UN General Assembly. There is scope, therefore, for greater collaboration between the government and the UN, and I am sure there will be opportunities for us to work together to strengthen the level of cooperation as Jamaica moves towards achieving the SDGs and leaving no one behind. Congratulations once again on coordinating this forum, and may you continue to have a productive e-dialogue series. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, okay. See, and there goes technology for you. I gave a big opening remarks just now, and the microphone was on mute. Don't you just hate when that happens? But I was just mentioning that the volume being so loud just now, I know you thought it was, maybe, technical difficulty, but absolutely not. It was to ensure everybody, was a little wake up to make sure that everybody was here with us. Of course, that was a fabulous presentation from our minister, so I'm pretty sure even her presentation caught the ears and eyes of many of you here. So, she mentioned a few things that I just want to point out. She was speaking about, definitely now is the time that the use of, ICTs in education is going to be at the forefront of many of the discussions of our members of parliament. And not only the use of it, but the accelerated use of it, the gaining the technology, then training our teachers how to use it, ensuring that the children have access to it. And so it's definitely going to take collaborative efforts, even from the side of the parents. I'm pretty sure we're all on social media. You see some parents, they're complaining, that they don't even know how to use it. So in a time like this, it's going to take all hands on deck. And I'm pretty sure in any way that you can, you will definitely ensure that even if it's in your household, even if it's in your community, maybe you can go ahead and, teach the persons in your community how to better use these technologies during this time. So I hope you're also playing your part. Of course, we have our plans of action, which we all need to be a part of. I am a firm believer that, yes, we all want to be on the boards and the executive members and all of that. But to be honest, the real change usually happens when you as an individual, you go into the community, you see the people, you know their needs, and you do what you need to make change. And oftentimes that doesn't even take any money. It just takes heart and hope, and for you to just be consistent. That's usually what it takes. So I hope everybody is enjoying so far. If we are all enjoying so far, let's put enjoying in the chat. Enjoying, or say great. Give me something. Give me something. Of course, I have to make sure that you're still with me. I know you don't. This is exactly what I do when I'm teaching. If I give them a question, I'm not sure if anybody's scrolling on the Instagram or doing other things. So I have to prompt you to make sure that your hands. You say, Michaela. In that moment, you say, oh, right, I have to. So you have to be alert. Unfortunately, I don't know all the names here. All right, great. So I see Jamel, Janelle, Samantha. Is that Havri or Havri, Adrian? All right, you see, doing this, you could be getting a shout out. Everybody, this is your one moment of fame. We have 2 minutes. All right, let's give out some other shout outs. We have Moya, we have Malik is coming right up. So Malik, you didn't need any shout out because you're coming right up. I see you. All right, we have Jamelia, we have Sohail, we have Ashley. Oh, love this. I love that one. So amazing. From Sarah, we have Dwayne. Yes, Dwayne Haynes is enjoying. Love to see it, everybody. But of course, it's not just for you to enjoy. Ensure that you have told at least 3 persons. Remember, we're going for the 240 at the very least. I see my technical assistants, they're going to show you the prize. Again, we're in social media, so we have to keep current, right? So winners win, and we actually have prizes to give away, guys. It's not any fake prizes, showing you that is real stuff here. I have the prizes, and they will be, I don't know if they're going to be delivered or you're going to pick them up. I know Sarah was a winner so far, so I'm told that you will pick them up at the venue. We'll share the location, for those persons who are winners. So guys, we don't have any more winners yet. No man, they have to give me some more winners. I need some more winners. So while we're doing the other presentation, they're gonna share with me, I think, 2 more names. We must have at least 2 more winners. All right, so I have Shanika from Instagram. Shanika, you are also a winner. Yes, we love to see people win, right? So we want to ensure that they know that they're not just engaging and then we're not following up. Right, so far we have Sarah and Shanika. I think those are 2 female names. So I would love if we're talking about inclusivity and equality. So we want to ensure that we have our males as well. So I'm gonna need a male winner. So my males, I don't know who is here. Colin, calling you out. Colin, you're going on the social media and do what you're supposed to do as yet. Shaquille. People, talk to me. Let me know. Are you guys doing what you're supposed to do? You don't want to be a winner. I mean, you're already a winner in yourself, but all right. We have Olivia. Not Instagram. I'm not taking any more female names until I have a male. After that, we want to ensure that we're having sometimes we talk about having women at the table. I'm also a firm believer that we also need to ensure that in making the women at the table, we don't exclude the men from being there as well, right? So we want to ensure that what are you supposed to do? Okay, I see that you may be joined late. So you are going to, on social media, that could be Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You're gonna tag 3 friends as well as the UN Jamaica page on whichever respective platform you are. And you can share something about what you've learned so far. Share something, maybe one thing you'd want to tell one of the global leaders. That was something I asked earlier. Could just be you watching the forum. That's fine as well. We just want to get the word out there because it's going to be posted on YouTube after, and it's available on the platform. So we need persons to know that it's happening, so that even if they're missing it now, they know that the information will still be at their disposal after. So you are going to be our foot soldiers in helping us to tell other persons. We talk about the collaborative efforts. This is where it starts. Yeah, so for those persons, okay, Shaquille said he did it on Instagram. Shaquille, I'm gonna take your word for it. I'm not even consulting my technical assistant. I'm taking your word for it. Shaquille, you are a winner, so we will be contacting you. All right, so of course we all love entertainment. If there's one thing about Jamaicans, we love our entertainment. So we will now listen to Damario. He's a first-year law student at the Mona. Sorry, that's the University of the West Indies, Mona. He's also the youth mayor of Spanish Town. That's very impressive. And he's chairman of the Junior Council. Damario is passionate about youth empowerment and development, as I'm sure all of you are. So it's very fitting that he be, our performer now. And he lives his life to facilitate this in, as many ways as possible. And right now, he's just sharing one of those ways with us. So if my technical team is ready, we are going to welcome Damario. And I'm pretty sure, somebody said Jago past student representing. Any more Jago students in the house? Or for anybody here who is not from Jamaica, Jago is one of our high schools, so just presenting context. In Jamaica, we're very, very passionate about our schools. If there are any other schools, anybody else want to big up their schools, why not? You can go ahead. Somebody said, big up Jago. I hope if there are any non-Jamaicans, they're probably like, what's going on here? I don't understand that. We're just celebrating and enjoying, somebody going to school. We talk about collaborative efforts. One thing in Jamaica, the schools and, being an alumni, we really take that seriously. So we have Bishop Gibson High School as well. We have Campion. Love to see it. Big up Arden, the present head girl. We have Chester here. We have the best from West, all right. We have St. Andrew. All right, so you guys are getting it. Oh, since the schools, and they didn't want to say all this time. Who wasn't interacting with me like this from before? It's the schools, and they didn't want to big up. You just had to let me know. You just had to let me know. I see Adastra Prospero, Central High. I love to see it. What this is also saying to me is that there are a lot of young people on the chat. And, sometimes we have events for young people, but it's really still the older people who show up, and then we're still hoping that it will trickle down to the young people. So I am most happy that I'm seeing so many young persons here. And, I'm just hoping that, as I said, it's not just about you being here, but also ensuring that before you leave, in some way, shape, or form, you ensure your voice is heard. And I hope you guys are, jotting down your questions, anything you're sure you want to ask before the day is out, be sure to just write them. We will be taking those questions later down in our event. So I'm going to go to Damario if everything is ready. Yeah, so we're going to go to Damario for our performance.
Ooh. Ooh, yeah. When I look at where I'm coming from, I know I'm blessed, and I close my eyes and smile. Sometimes I feel like the richest man in Babylon, but I've done my best, so everything's alright inside. So every morning I rise, I stare at the sun. I know that it is a blessing. So when the evening comes, I lift up my eyes to the hills. I'm blessed, oh man. With my two hands in the air as far as I can. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, 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 oh. So every morning I rise, I stare at the sun. I know that it is a blessing. Yeah. Lift up my eyes to the hills, I'm blessed, oh man. Ooh. Sometimes I'm lost and far from home, but I found my way. I follow my heart, I know I'll be found someday. While I'm lost, I learn to live. What do you say? Let's have a good time until that day. So every morning I stare at the sun. I know that it is a blessing. So when the evening comes, I lift up my eyes to the hills. I'm blessed, oh man. with my two hands in the air as far as I. Oh 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 oh. Oh 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 oh
Everybody, I think my technical team is trying to sabotage me. You know, they keep not unmuting the thing, and then I give these big comments, and then nobody hears me. I'm joking. They're doing a fabulous job, and I'll tell you their name shortly. But now it's just, you know, it's on the wraps because they're so fabulous. Like the energy guys, I was so nervous, and they made me. Honestly, they've just made me so calm. They've made me feel like, you know, they had it under control. So therefore, I felt like I have it under control, which is definitely good. Somebody said energy. I agree. So everybody knows me as much as I, you know, teach to all of these things. I love dancing. So when I see Demario going ahead and I see him flinging and I see him, one thing, to be a performer, you don't have anybody in front of you and still have that energy. That alone for me let me know that Demario is a true performer, because he was performing as if he had an entire audience in front of him. So I definitely want us to all, you know, definitely tell him great job. And I see it in the comments there. I see that you guys are saying, you know, look to the island blessed and everything like that. I see the words. Everybody knows that song. Well, not everybody, for most persons. And if you don't, it's definitely a very popular chronic song, very positive. I definitely think, you know, in this time, that's definitely what we need. Very positive energy. So I was very happy he chose that song. And somebody said thank you. Yes, Demario. Oh, Demario is in the chat. Demario, you did fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. That was the energy we needed. You see, if they were not listening to us before, I'm sure when that song came on, everybody was probably doing the little dance with you as well, right? So absolutely fabulous. So once again, thank you, Demario. We definitely appreciate it. All right, so today we are excited, most excited. Does anybody here know, did we share with them who the keynote speakers are today? I believe it was on the agenda. Okay, I think we should do a giveaway. I think this is time for a giveaway. So if whoever is the first person who can comment or keynote speaker, Malik, I need full name. I need full name. This is a prize. Right? So you see, this is why it's important to pay attention. Reading is fundamental, everybody. Reading is fundamental. Malik, MB, all right. And I see somebody there. So I'm not sure if it's Gavio or Javio, but yes, you will. Yeah, he said, oh, it's because I'm not seeing them in. All right, so I'm going to let my technical team choose a few. I know I just said Gavius, I don't want to take back the prize from him. That don't look good, guys. That's not good on the team. So we might have to find some more prizes. So Gavius, happy, you know, he's a team hero. He just got everybody prizes because of my mess up. You know, I'm going to see if I would mess up the thing. So you have to just fix it. So we're gonna have to give everybody prizes after that. but yeah, so we are happy to be here. We're definitely gonna be. I know when I saw it and I saw Facebook, I was like, oh, manager over at Facebook. I was wondering, how did he end up there? What's the story behind that? I know I am interested. I have my own questions. But as they rightfully said, today we have with us here Mr. Malik Mbe, and he's an entrepreneur who wears many hats, and you will soon hear all of them. But one of the most noteworthy is being the product marketing manager at Facebook. Yes, everyone, the Facebook that some of you are streaming on here. I'll just take this opportunity to say welcome and thank you for being here with us. Those persons who are streaming in from Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, you're also a part of it. Yes, we're not checking the comments just yet because the Zoom is really where the interactivity is happening, but we are still happy that you are watching us and you're here with us today. So going back to our esteemed keynote speaker, Mr. Mbe, he's a digital entrepreneur. He's passionate about building great products. Well, we definitely agree with that one. Empowering his community and helping people to achieve their goals. And we love people who not only empower, they're not only empowered, but also they empower others. He discovered the power of digital at a very young age, and he built his own streetwear blog, which went from 0 to 8 million plus in reach. Why do math? 8 million is enough, more than we have in Jamaica, right? And during his 10 years as a photographer, he learned the art of storytelling. And I think storytelling is so important. There is, specific photographers, even in Jamaica, when you see their pictures and you see even if it's just a small post, maybe the way they put their pictures and their information together, it's not just putting it as if you and I post. They literally tell a story, which is so important. He also specializes in viral content and building a unique, personal brand. So if some of you even, you're looking as to how you can build your personal brand, maybe that's a question you could ask him later on. This got him featured in Teen Vogue, yes, Teen Vogue. And in 2017, he was named a top 5 Black style icon. Are we going to get to see him on the camera, right? So I hope he's showing off the Teen Vogue style icon today, by Blavity. And Malik leveraged his platform to launch his own e-commerce store, sorry about that, everybody, which he scaled to 23 plus countries as a solopreneur. Now, 23 plus countries. I've definitely not even traveled to 23 plus, much as to have business in 23 plus. But I'm sure, and most times when you speak to successful people, you'll realize that it doesn't mean that they have actually traveled, to these countries, but that's the power of digital. It allows you to be in spaces that you are not even physically there. So he later joined Facebook, as we mentioned, as a product marketing manager, where he learned to build and launch products, of course, on the global stage, which is why we're here in Jamaica and we know about Facebook, and your auntie in America know about Facebook, and the uncle in England knows about Facebook, So over the last 2 years of being there, he's done everything from research to design to marketing to overseeing launches to over 140 plus countries. And we thought the 23 plus was a lot earlier. Now he's gone to 140 plus countries while being at Facebook. And he founded the Black Lotus to help startups bring their product and marketing visions to life. And I think especially in this pandemic, when so many persons are losing their jobs, so many businesses are shutting down, I'm sure he'll add a lot to the conversation about startups, especially for young people, just because our opportunities, the way they are defined, is changing. And even like for myself, when growing up, I didn't necessarily think I would ever be an entrepreneur, but with the times call for innovation, and you have your startup, and having the experience of others shared with you only puts you in a better position. So we can't wait to hear about that. Malik's mission is to use his gifts to empower the hustlers who are bold enough to think they can make a difference. And we all can make a difference. So I believe he's just going to tell us how exactly we can start that, because for a lot of us the starting is the problem here. It's not getting into it, but so many of us that just to take the leap of faith to start is usually the problem. So we also can't wait to hear from him about that. I'm pretty sure Malik hearing all these things about himself. I know sometimes when persons are reading my bio, he's like, wow, I really have done all those things, haven't I? Yes, Malik, you are a phenomenal gentleman, and we cannot wait to meet you. He's also been doing career coaching, which I'm pretty sure is going to be very important to us young people. Sometimes, you think you know what you want to do, but then you realize, yes, I'm good at all these things, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's where I want my career choice to be. And how do you know you're choosing the right career choice? So again, I'm just giving you, guiding the process for you to start thinking about the types of questions that you can ask him, so you're taking from his bio as well as when he does his presentation. And he's been doing career coaching for, the last 5 years. So he definitely has the experience in that. He's also helped to mentor over 100 students and professionals. So of course, mentorship, we know that's very important as well. But most importantly, Malik's dream is to foster a generation that lives a life of purpose and gives back while they're at it. And I think that's so important, that it's not just about what you get, but about what you give. And on that note, we're gonna say over to you, Malik. We can't wait to hear from you. Of course, everybody start putting together your questions. Of course, you can share some of the things he's saying by using the hashtag UN75 and UN Jamaica. All right, so I'll head over to Malik. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. Let me get my screen share set up so that we can get into the fun stuff. All this great content here. All right. So, Wagwan UN Jamaica, it's your boy Malik. I am so happy to be here. And I know you can't tell it by my voice, but I like to think of myself as Jamaican by association, you feel me? My family, we're from Senegal, West Africa, so we're the first generation born in the States. And I've met like a ton of Jamaican people throughout my life, but I didn't really realize the beauty of the culture until I studied at Howard, where we had a really strong just Caribbean community overall. And some of my lifelong friends and my closest friends are actually all from Jamaica. So I've been there a couple of times, from St. Thomas to Mo Bay and Portland and Kingston, all that good stuff. And now I actually have a bunch of clients who are actually like startups and nonprofits in the Caribbean. So this feels like a very beautiful coming home for me. And I'm grateful to the whole UNJA team, Jermaine, Maxalia, Mitch Watson, for giving me this opportunity. And I'm excited to get into this content with you guys. So, what are we here for? We're here to talk about education and innovation. We're here to talk about raising the bar. And so I'm a digital entrepreneur. That's how I like to define myself. And so what that means is that I build community, I connect people, I solve problems, I create content, I help build brands, I help people understand what's happening online, what are the latest trends, and I help individuals and corporations connect with their tribe of loyal followers. And so over the last 10 years, I've been experimenting from content creation to all those things that I just mentioned. And I thought to myself, okay, if I were to go back and I were to think about where are we in this moment in time right now, and what is the best game that I can give you guys to set you up, I wanted to give you guys timeless first principles. These are concepts that are very, very simple, but if you understand them and you do the work to apply them, you will see an outsized reward and impact. So don't underestimate the value because, you know, it seems like, oh yeah, I've heard that before, or oh yeah, I generally understand these things. Like in the right hands, very simple information can make a world of difference, okay? So we're about to get into the digital innovator playbook. And this is going to be everything that you need to understand to not only change your own life, but change your life for your family and for your community by attracting opportunities online. Okay? So I'm going to give you guys the 5 keys that you need to understand to now take your education and innovation to the next level. All right? Let's get into this content. So the first thing that we need to talk about, y'all, is we are living in a completely new world. Like that's been a theme, right? The minister talked about it, and I know that we're all living it because of COVID, but we live in a world now where the physical space around us is not only where there is anymore. Like just because you're based in Jamaica or I'm based in San Francisco and you may hear the cars going by, that is no longer my world. My world now exists in the digital plane. So now our digital lives are an extension of our previous lives. So that means that all of the rules that used to apply around education, opportunities, professional development, career, life, dating, like everything around like just doing this whole life thing is completely changed because we have a variable that now means we need to look at our playbook again. So what does that mean? What's happening in this new world? Well, democratization is the word. Like what the internet does is it takes power and it takes it away from these few corporations that kind of like control everything. They control the media, they control how you can interact and all that stuff. And it gives the power to the many. So now as an individual, you may feel small, but you have an incredible amount of power that's vested in you at this point. And with great power comes great responsibility. So right now, your responsibility in this new world is what we see on the slide. You have to be insatiably curious, and you have to be a lifelong learner. Education does no longer mean you go to fourth form, fifth form, what have you, take your CXCs, and then you're good to go. And then you don't ever need to worry about education again. That's not what it is. Education now is a lifelong journey, because the way innovation is happening, the way things are just advancing at a rapid pace, if you're not always expanding your horizons and like following your curiosity, you're going to be left behind. Okay, so you need to be a lifelong learner, and then you need to actually start teaching yourself. And this is called being an autodidact, right? Now we live in a world where your teachers, right, they're amazing. Your extra lessons teachers, like they're helping you out, awesome, but they're just there to guide you. You are accountable for your own education, your growth and development. So you can't say, oh, because this person isn't, teaching me the right way, or our teachers suck, I'm just not going to try, and I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. That's no longer an excuse, guys. You need to take power into your own hands, embrace the responsibility and the power that you have just by having a simple mobile phone, and use that to follow your curiosity and to always be learning and to always be expanding your horizons. You need to figure out whatever it is that gives you energy, whatever it is that you're passionate about, that weird obsession that you talk about with your friends and they don't really get it, but like in your head, you're just so in love with it. That one thing that if somebody made you the CEO of a company and they said, you know what, you can hire yourself, do whatever job you want, and you write the check. I don't even want to know what your job title is or what you do every day. You set it up, you write the check, you pay yourself whatever you want. What would you write for yourself? What would that job be for yourself? Whatever those things are that excite you, that give you energy, that is where your curiosity lies, and that's where you need to start directing your focus, okay? So that is the first key concept that you guys need to understand. It's a new world, and you gotta be a lifelong learner, or else you're gonna get left behind. So start figuring out where your energy sources are so that you can figure out what the next steps are. Okay, so, okay, cool. We understand that. All right, we got to start learning. We got our work cut out for us. But what do we do? I know in Jamaica, like there's so many people who go to, they go to UWI, they go to UTech, and they just want to be doctors, right? They just want to be lawyers, right? And that's cool. Like we need doctors and lawyers, but like ask yourself, why do you even want to be a doctor and a lawyer? Well, it's probably because like from the rules of the old game, the old world order, if you will, that was the only way you could get a little pretty penny. That's the only way you could get a check. You had to be a doctor or a lawyer to make it work. And so people naturally just gravitate towards that, because when they think about their lives and opportunities and education and career, they're just like, whatever job gives me the highest salary is what I'm going after, not knowing that that's only one way that you can get paid, right? And so they kind of limit themselves into that just box, and they don't even stop to think about what they're really, truly passionate about. But now, there is no box. If you actually think about it, back when the TV was first invented in the 1950s, 1960s, around then, they had 3 channels, y'all. You could flip to one channel, watch what's going on. You flip to the next channel, you see, okay, they got the news. You flip to another channel, they got the game, and that was it. There were no other options. And so in a world where you only have 3 channels, the whole country is only watching 3 channels, what are you going to put on those channels? Well, you're going to put stuff that appeals to the largest number of people possible, right? You're going to figure out, how can I make the most blockbuster, mass market type of content? But now in 2020, there are 1.8 billion accounts on YouTube alone. We haven't even started talking about Vivo, Netflix, TikTok, that's another couple billion, Instagram, Twitter, all these new places where you can now get content, entertainment, information, from 3 to billions. And so what does that mean? That means that there are no more limitations around opportunities and around what you can do. And that's whether you're based in Kingston, whether you're based in San Francisco, whether you're based in Namibia, whether you're based in the Ukraine. We all have access to the same internet. Some people may have an advantage and have better connection, or they can top up, they got more money to top up, or whatever the case is, but we're all connected now. right? And so that means that socioeconomic opportunity has been expanded. So there are no more limitations around what you can do with your life and your career and your purpose. Because now for every small idea, no matter how small or how niche or how weird or bizarre that idea is or that interest is, you can find several thousand million other people across the world who are just as nerdy about that same thing as you are. And so that means that if ideas can find people, wherever there is people, there are problems to be solved. Wherever there are problems to be solved, there's value that can be created and captured. And wherever there's value that can be created and captured, there's socioeconomic opportunity. So this little thing of being able to have the internet now creates major ripple effects throughout society and economically that are just starting to happen. We're still in the very beginning stages. Like, this is new, y'all. Like, for real. So don't feel like you're getting left behind or anything. This is the beginning. So I think about, you know, people from Jamaica. Like, I follow White Yardie on Instagram, and I love his content. And so he's connecting me to a culture. I love watching like funny skits in patois, right? Or like I saw last week, there was a man who went viral on Twitter, and he's a big Black man with locks, and he gardens. That's what he loves doing. He loves his plants, and he makes rap songs about how much he loves gardening and how it's okay to be different and to follow your purpose. And guess what? He went from getting 500 views on his videos, a couple thousand subscribers, to getting 250,000 views in 1 week, right? And then getting about 10,000 subscribers in 1 week as well. That one thing of 10,000 people just being in love with what you do and who you are, his videos are very low budget, right? Like, he could have recorded on a flip phone. 10,000 people now who are saying, I'm a part of your community, that alone in the right hands could be life-changing, right? And all it took, y'all, was one tweet. So when I tell you there is no box and you can design a life doing anything you want, whether that's, you know, dressing cool, whether that's dancing, whether that's making music, whether that's reviewing or reacting to music, whether it's streaming yourself playing video games, whether it's you just ranting about your thoughts and your life and things that you find are interesting, right? Like, there are so many different opportunities that are available. And so I know the older generation, the boomers, our parents, they may not get that, right? But you guys have to understand this and start moving accordingly and design the life that you want. And I know a lot of us millennials, Gen Z, like, we love so many different things. So it's hard to pick one thing to focus on, but that's okay. In this new world, you can be several different things. You can have many different careers within the span of your one larger career, right? So there are no limitations. Think about, again, what gives you life, what gives you energy, what makes you excited to wake up, and then learn everything humanly possible, and like, never let your curiosity be satisfied. And in doing that, you're setting yourself up for success. Can you feel it? Let me see some action in the chat if you can. All right, let's get into the next one. Once you figure out your curiosity is your passions, and you understand the abundance of opportunity that now exists, you must now start creating. And anytime we say create, or like we say creative or anything like that, people get scared because your teachers or society told you that creativity is the same thing as being an artist. I can't draw, I can't paint, I can't dress, I'm not funny, I'm a quiet person, so I'm not creative. No. Creative is just connecting two ideas. It's just connecting two things in a different way, right? That's it. Everybody's creative naturally, okay? But once you understand whatever your passion zone is, wherever your power lies, you need to start creating in that space. And when I say creating, it just means sharing your journey. It means telling people like, hey, like, this is where I am and this is where I'm going and this is what I've learned. And it doesn't have to be complicated. A principle that I like to use is just share with people what you wish you knew yesterday. That's it. If every day you share something that you wish you knew yesterday, or you create something to express yourself, you're gonna have tremendous opportunity, okay? And so there are three key things that you wanna do in terms of creating. You wanna create, one, to learn. In creating, in producing something, whether it is a write-up, an article, a presentation, a flyer, and creating anything, even an email, as simple as that, You are learning and achieving mastery of a process. Not only that, but in creating, you now produce tangible artifacts and deliverables that you can use to help you get to whatever that original goal that we identified at the beginning is, right? I've used articles to get job offers that are 2 to 3x whatever I'm making now, just because I have articles and I create and I share my story, okay? And then on the other side, like we talked about, it's not just about you, it's about giving back, right? Give and you shall receive. And so when you're creating and you're sharing what you wish you knew yesterday, you're helping out the people who are on that journey coming right up after you. You're helping them now make sure that they're on the right track and that they can learn from where you are. And so now you are not only giving back, but you're establishing yourself as a trusted expert and achieving mastery and getting closer to your goal. And on top of that, you now have a brand, which is an asset. Just like a house is an asset, I believe in digital real estate. Your brand, your Instagram is an asset that can pay you if you know how to work it, right? And so that's what we're talking about here. You have to create, you have to share, and you have to embrace this journey of, learning, growing, and giving back, okay? That is number 4. So now we understand that, all right, well, we need to figure out whatever our passion zone is, understand opportunity, and now just become involved in the community of constantly creating and giving stuff out. Cool, we can get that, like you get that, right? Well, now the next thing is like, well, my pictures aren't good, or I only get 2 likes on my photos. I don't have a lot of followers. Or you're creating and you're pushing out content, you're sharing your expression, you're sharing your views, like your journey, and you're not seeing any results. And these vanity metrics that are built into social media, like likes, comments, engagement, shares, reactions, all of that, it can also create a little bit of anxiety, right? Like, let's be real, like you feel like your life is now on this public chopping block. But what I want to tell you guys is I'm giving you permission as someone who's studied these platforms and is creating on these platforms that it actually doesn't matter, right? Like I think as Chronic said, do it for the loves, don't do it for the likes. You feel me? That is what it is. So don't do it for the likes, do it for the love. And what you'll see is that it's not actually about likes and engagement. It's just about getting your message out into to the people who need to hear it. It's about getting your message out to the people who would resonate with your message the most. Once you start doing that, that's all you need to do. I've never had more than, on my personal pages, like I think 2,000 something followers. I think maybe 3,000 was like the highest, and then I got a lot of unfollows, and I've never had more than that, but I've created significantly more revenue and business opportunities and career opportunities from my Instagram stories than people who have 50 to 100K followers easily, right? And I don't get more than like 20 likes on some posts. And I was even getting anxious about that, but then I understood that it's not about how many likes you're getting, it's about who's actually liking it. It's about how do you find the people who are part of your community, who believe what you believe, who share your values, who are passionate about the same things that you are, right? Who can add value to your life and vice versa. How do you find those people and then just get your message out? Just get your message out and constantly just reinforce, this is who I am. This is what I believe in. This is what I can do for you. This is what I stand for. That's all you need to do. If you start doing that, you're setting yourself up to now start attracting opportunities. And I'll warn you that the people who follow you now on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, whatever, they may not be a part of your tribe. They may just be people from your neighborhood, geography, your area code or whatever, who they like you as a person, but they don't share the same interests. And so you may find that you're getting terrible engagement, although your content is great, just because it's not in front of the right people. Your parents and family, they may not even understand. That's fine. But then you have to now start to problem solve on how do you find the right people and get in front of them. That's what you need to do. Because at the end of the day, like it comes down to being known. You need to get your message out there. And as people, we're social creatures. And so you feel anxiety anytime you're out in front of people, even though like a lot of us are mentally strong. So you try not to compare yourself, but it's still a default reaction that comes up, right? That's normal, but you need to still get yourself out there. Like, don't let that stop you from still sharing your message, sharing what you can do, and sharing the value that you can add. Because like Grant Cardone says, if they don't know you, they can't flow you, right? If they don't know you, they can't flow you. The reason I'm even here today is because I was blessed that one of the people on the coordinating committee, he remembered me for something. He remembered what I stood for, what I was passionate about: education, innovation, technology. And he said, you know what, this would be a great opportunity. And now I'm so blessed to be here sharing this moment with you guys and passing on the same knowledge. So I'm very much living what I'm telling you guys right now. This is real. It's this simple. Figure out what you stand for, what you believe in, what you're passionate about, what you want to learn about 24/7, and then put yourself out there. Once people know you, they can start to flow you. They can start to connect with you and find other opportunities or what have you. And so once you do that, it's all about just attraction at this point. I'm a big, big, big believer of the law of attraction, and the big believer in the fact that like you'll get back what you put out. Whatever you put out, that's what you're gonna get back. And if you're on this journey, if you figured out what it is that you want to obsess over, a process, not a result, not I want this result, X amount of dollars or whatever, but this process, like I love doing this thing. Once you find a process that you can obsess over and you want to learn about, then you take the responsibility to now educate yourself and feed your curiosity, and you're creating all along that journey. And this gets to my 360 mentorship principle, where you're creating and you're creating to get you to where you want to go, to express yourself and your individuality and your spirit and your essence, to also learn and then to give back. And then you understand that, okay, it's going to take a long time, right? But what I'm building is I'm building an asset. It's just like a gardener, right? You're just watering that plant. You're watering it every day. And as soon as it gets nice and healthy, it's now going to start bearing fruit that's going to pay you. It's the same thing with these digital platforms. And so once you understand that this is the new reality, this is the new frontier, you set yourself up for success. And as Jamaican people, as Caribbean people, you have something that is so powerful. You have culture. Culture is currency. You have that je ne sais quoi. Anybody who hears dancehall music, reggae music, the way you speak, the cadence, the style, the way you wear your Clarks, whatever it is, like it just resonates. And that's why you have people all over the world who are just so drawn to this culture. They want to be a part of it. So you guys are actually in such an opportunistic place right now where you can own your power, harness all of these things that make you unique, take your education into your own hands, and now start using all these platforms that are out here to build a life that you can be proud of, that can not only help you out, but can create a better future for your community and for your family. And so that's what I got for you guys. If you apply those principles, I can't guarantee you that you'll be a millionaire tomorrow or everything is going to be perfect, but I will guarantee that you're going to wake up every day and be more proud of the person that you're becoming than the person you were yesterday. And as I like to end all of my speeches or my engagements or my rants, because I be talking, is own your power, give back, and leave no stone unturned. Black Lotus, out. And now I'll kick it back to the host and the presenter for questions. And I know we got the youth panel coming up right after this. So back to you.
Wow. Like, Malik, just wow. That was so engaging. I think especially for me, I'm not sure if you were here from before when I would have mentioned that I actually started my math tutoring company in the middle of the pandemic. And I feel like a lot of what you were saying really hit home for me. Of course, maybe from I was in high school, I knew I wanted to become a teacher. But again, you spoke about, the older generation and them seeing that, whatever you need to do in life, it needs to bring in the books. And I don't know if it's like that where you're from, but in Jamaica, being a teacher isn't necessary. It should be, but unfortunately, it's not always given the respect it deserves. And so, it was kind of like, a teacher, Michaela, you have so much potential, like just a teacher. And, so I even shied away from my purpose for so many years, which is why I even did my bachelor's in actuarial science, because if anybody here knows about actuarial science, we associate actuarial science with with the flow, right? And it just didn't make me happy. And to be honest, you also mentioned about, you know, if you could get all the money in the world, somebody told you, okay, whatever it is you think you're good at, you know, they would pay you for that. What would it be? And it wasn't exactly those words, but it was a similar thing. And I realized the thing I really want to do is to teach math specifically. And, you know, so of course, I definitely think the persons who are on the call, I encourage you to listen to Malik and ask yourself that same question. Like, it doesn't have to be traditional. It could be that you love baking. It could be that you love making TikToks. Like, it doesn't have to be one thing either. I always say that, you know, whenever it is I do decide to have a child, I don't even think I want to ask them, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like, that alone, I think, was such a boxed kind of mentality, because it forced you to feel like you have to be one thing, like you have to say one answer, versus saying, you know, the world is your oyster. And as you've been telling us, like, you can be anything you want to be. You can be many things. Maybe this phase of your life you want to be a TikTok person. Maybe the next phase of your life, you know, you want to be a teacher. So, you know, you just don't want to limit yourself. You also spoke about people, and once you have people, they have problems, and if you can provide the solution to those problems, then you have a, you know, a business opportunity or an opportunity to give back. Especially in the pandemic, it was definitely perfect timing for me to make that transition, just because, of course, there's so many students who are somebody saying Malik is a whole vibe. I definitely agree. But right, so in the middle of the pandemic, you know, there was a need. There's so many students who are just not transitioning very well to the online, and, you know, I would have stepped up and said, all right, how can I play my part? And that was through tutoring. And Malik, as you rightfully said, because when I was transitioning to quit my job, I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to do a lot of promotion. I was thinking about radio ads that I can't afford. I was thinking about all sorts of things, and all I did was, on my pages, I decided to be very intentional. So I branded everything as the Math Wiz. I started to, in a very little way, everything I could, I just spoke about math. And to be honest, Malik, and everybody who is on the call, it's almost as if the person's found me. So I just saw all of your words coming to life, and I'm speaking of my experience, just so that you also don't think Malik is just making these things up. I'm saying that I think I am a literal example and testimony to many of the things he's sharing. So guys, really don't just take in the words, but try to apply them. Try to think about some of the questions he's been asking. I encourage you, maybe we could have maybe 2 questions. Okay, I see a question there that we're going to ask. But before that, Malik, there was a question that we had, you know, organized for you, just because we really wanted to touch that. And I know you kind of mentioned it in the presentation, but we wanted you to zone in a little bit more. Oftentimes we think that to make a change and to do many of the things you're talking about, that it's going to cost money, you know. And so the first thing you think about is, you know, I don't have the budget to do that. So it's actually a 2-part question. I want you to touch on how can we personally help ourselves using the tools around us to make this change, and then how can the government use, you know, the resources that we already have. So we're talking about using our personal resources and then using our national resources. Like, how can we use what we have right now in front of us to do some of the things that you're talking about? And I don't need to be practical, because that's what you've been doing. I love the presentation because it was just so practical. So we're going to head over to you, and then we'll take the question from the audience.
Yeah, thank you so much.
No problem.
I'm so glad that the content resonates as well, like from your personal experience. Like, I know a lot of people, they feel worried that they can't really create a future for themselves doing what they're truly passionate about. But I think your story is just a reminder for us to think bigger, right? Because like as a teacher, you create so much value, especially right now in the pandemic, with CXCs, schools closed, all that good stuff. So let's get into the questions. How can you start with your personal resources to like implement these things and create opportunities? To just keep it like super simple, pick an area and then challenge yourself to create something in that area, whether it's original or whether it's a reshare from somewhere else. Like if you find a news article or you find an account or you see an inspirational quote or a meme or a tweet, just like create a platform for yourself and a separate social media account. Maybe it's your personal one and you have a highlight, and just be like, this is something I'm interested in. I'm just going to push out content in this space. And then just do it like that. That's all you got to do. Find something, create something. And once you do that simple process, you kick off a loop where the feedback that you get from that process is going to now inform your creativity, inform your goals, inform your life, inform like your trajectory. So that's it. In terms of the government and like opportunities at that macro scale, I actually do have some thoughts about this where I feel like we can get a little bit more concrete. So one of my business partners and also my best friend, he's Jamaican, and he's actually there right now for the first time in a while. And we always talk about this because we worked on some education stuff together. Like I said, we work with some nonprofits as well. So I see like 3 opportunities as an outsider looking in, okay? I see agriculture, I see like tech and access to education, and then policy. On the agricultural front, like the reason I bring that up is because I feel like, you know, Jamaica is such a beautiful and like rich country, and like it's so biodiverse, and you just have so much like land, right? And like in that in itself, like is just opportunity, right? It's kind of like a contrast. We're talking all digital, but it just means that the digital is an extension of the physical, not that the physical doesn't matter anymore, right? And so I'm like, you know, from a government standpoint, like how can we challenge ourselves to start home growing a lot of the stuff that you guys are otherwise just importing from overseas, right? That you could just grow and use all the land that you already have. Because in doing that, you create food abundance and you create employment opportunities and you create a new business, right? So that's a huge opportunity that I see that can be good. And that can also now help on the education front in terms of now like you're giving education and career and trade opportunities to a whole new class of people. And in doing that, you can now unlock innovation. The second one, which is like tech/education, is the whole presentation was pretty much around this thesis that the internet is the new frontier. Here's what you need to do to take advantage of it. That was the whole conclusion of the presentation. You can't do that unless you got access to the internet, right? Like that in itself is a luxury and a privilege. And we need to be grateful for those of us who do have it, whether it's through a mobile phone, whether it's through a smartphone, through a tablet, to a community center, whatever, at your school. I know the UN and the government have been distributing tablets and stuff. So like that's a luxury. And the last time I checked, I think the connection rate for internet is like low 50%, mid 50% for like Jamaica and the Caribbean. So that's a whole swath of people who can't fully take advantage, because like almost 100% of people have some type of mobile phone, right? But it's like, how do you fully take advantage? We need to figure out, how do you remove the barriers of access? How do you give people devices? How do you make like actual data no longer a barrier, right? Is there an opportunity for the government to do like a partnership with like these huge telecom providers and these internet service providers and get like whitelisted internet access for all educational resources and things like that that people can use to actually create social mobility, right? Like, how do we do that? How do we make it so if you don't have a device and you can't get a device, maybe you're using like television or mass media, or you're building mini community centers along the way where people can now have a place where they can just go to learn. I think those are ideas that would be very transformational. And then finally, on the policy front, like how do we create more policies that incentivizes entrepreneurship, right? That incentivizes this kind of uprising of ideas from the youth and even from just people who are just passionate about a topic to like start creating in that space and start doing something, right? Like how can like the government act as a facilitator for this type of activity? I think if we were to explore those 3 like opportunity areas, there's just so much that can be done, and so many people's lives would be positively impacted by that. So those are my suggestions on the personal front. Just pick something and start. Don't make it complicated. The simpler it is, the uglier it is, the more stripped down it is, the better, right? Be authentic, be real, be you. And then on the government and macro side, let's look at agricultural investment and like domesticating a lot of that. Let's look at creating access for people who may not be able to afford it or have it. And let's look at how can we incentivize entrepreneurship and small businesses, because I feel like those are the things that kick off flywheels. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Back to you.
Yeah, and the response was just as good as the presentation. Malik, the people on the call, they're definitely loving you. I saw some persons pointing out, their takeaways. I'm actually going to encourage us all to write one takeaway from, something that Malik has said. If you've done it already, that's fine. For everybody else, I'm encouraging you to just give me one takeaway. And persons are saying you're truly amazing, and trust me, Malik, like I am thoroughly inspired. Even when they sent me the bio for the person, at first, I was saying, I wonder if it's somebody young, but I didn't ask. And seeing that you're also young is definitely refreshing to know that as young people, like, we can do it, and I saw somebody saying that my takeaway is you can design a life doing anything you want. And hearing you literally do that, yes, you're like, yes, I hit home. Yeah, trust me, you definitely are showing us, and I think it just reignited that fire in me to say, okay, like, this is just the beginning. Like, I'm about to go home and post something on social media about my math thing and just keep it going. What I do want to do is the questions that were posted, because I don't want persons, remember, it's all about getting the voices heard. I would ask my technical team to maybe share it with you in a personal chat, and then when you're giving your closing remarks, if you could just try to touch on just a little bit of what they've asked, just to include it versus us asking the questions individually, because we do have time going, but I don't want them to not get to engage with you. So all of the questions that have been asked, we are going to share them with Malik, and then before he leaves, he will try to touch on them in his response. But absolutely phenomenal, and we are going to get into our panelists, and then we're going to engage you, so don't go too far. But we want to hear from our other young people that we have here who are also doing amazing things. So with us, everybody, we have 3 amazing panelists, also young people who are going to share their views. We have Samantha Johnson, Sujay Boswell, and Shamir Sadler. Now, Samantha Johnson is a graduate from the University of the West Indies. She's currently employed as a medical doctor to the Southeast Regional Health Authority. She has a long history with advocacy, working with non-governmental organizations such as the Jamaica Medical Students Association, JAMSA, and JFLAG, and has been a Women Empowerment for Change ambassador for several years, which is definitely important. And Samantha's health lifestyle brand is called The Layman's Doctor. So I'm definitely interested to hear, where that name originated and, the meaning behind that. But I'm already getting, some insight as to what I think it is. So yes, we're gonna have Samantha Johnson with us shortly. We also have Mr. Sujay Boswell. He's also a graduate of the University of the West Indies, and he's currently serving as the Guild President as he's reading for his Master of Science in International Public and Development Management. And, being a past Guild President myself, I definitely know right now Sujay must have his hands full, because having to, represent so many students in the middle of a pandemic, it's unprecedented. You've never had to advocate in this way before. And so, I'm definitely interested to hear what that journey has been like for him so far, and, his plans not only for the UMONA, but just, education on a whole, because again, Malik was talking about, how you want information, it trickles down and it multiplies. So we're definitely going to be interested to hear about that experience for him. And finally, definitely not least, we have Shamir Sadler, and Shamir is a founder and chief executive officer of SmartTerm Limited. SmartTerm is an education management system platform powered by machine learning, and I'm pretty sure we're going to hear what that's all about. It's designed to digitize and improve education infrastructure globally. Shamir's deep passion, though, is to see the Caribbean develop technologically and to increase the efficiency of its people while also improving the quality of lives. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure you're seeing the pictures, but now we're gonna ask them to join with us. Is everybody there? I believe we're missing one person. I'm seeing. Okay, we're all good to go. All right, so I mean, I know I gave the introductions, but that is by no means all of the amazing things that you are doing. So I'm gonna ask, starting with Samantha, for you to just share a little bit of, what you're doing and what your experience has been like in the pandemic. Just to give us a little opening remarks, definitely something that I've not mentioned so far. Maybe you can even share with me, maybe what's the message because we're all from different spaces. So I'm pretty sure coming as panelists, we have, the particular message that we want to send. So you can even start to give clues to, what is your message here today. So Samantha, you can start us off. I don't mean to put you on spot as the female, but I would love for you to start. But if not, okay, while we wait on Samantha, Sujay, do you mind starting us off? You have to unmute that. It's happening to you like what happened to me. You have to unmute.
It's a good thing I wasn't laughing at you earlier.
Okay, sure you weren't.
Well, firstly, let me just say congratulations and thank you to the United Nations in Jamaica, the Governor General's Program for Excellence, the IBI initiative. I'm a proud IBI ambassador, and I must say that it's an excellent opportunity for young people to be conversing. I must also say thank you to the United Nations Association of Jamaica for organizing this conversation and this dialogue. The reality is, the way we know education in terms of the traditional way, where we get up in the morning, for example, if you were in high school, you get up in the morning and you go to your classes and so forth. It's not the same, and it's the very same at the university level, where we were physically interacting. We were in a space where teaching and learning was one that was interactive or had a direct linkage between teacher and student. That no longer exists now, as how we traditionally know it. And so I must say that that has posed challenges in different ways, but there are also opportunities, and you have somewhat made use of that opportunity in terms of your own online teaching platform, in terms of mathematics. So there are opportunities, but there are also equally challenges that are not the traditional challenges that we find generally. And so some of that needs to be addressed, such as the digital divide. I must commend, though, the Ministry of Education. I heard the minister speak earlier. I must commend the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, particularly the ministers, Minister Favour Williams and State Minister Robert Morgan, for their approach that they've taken in terms of for students. The reality is they have been engaging us from a tertiary standpoint as well as from the secondary standpoint. The stakeholder approach is something that is well appreciated, because before any move is made through the e-COVID task force, they do have our meetings where they would brief us on what the current situation is and then what the projections are like. And so that is definitely something that is commendable. And I think that's the best practice that must be practiced across different ministries, because this situation of COVID-19 is one that requires a multi-stakeholder approach to arriving at solutions to the problems that we face, particularly in the education sector, because again, these challenges are not, they just as the virus is novel, the challenges are novel to our education sector.
Sujay, I am absolutely happy that you didn't even wait for me to really ask the questions, because we are, getting closer to the end. So you just got in the information, and I'm going to encourage the other panelists as well. Even when I may ask one question, feel free to, just insert those points that you definitely want to get out there today. But before we move on, Sujay, I just wanted to get your opinion on something. So the UN 75 survey results to date, and for those of you who have not filled out the survey yet, I will encourage my technical assistant to share that link again for you to fill out the form. Right, but the survey results so far, we asked, the Jamaicans, do you think that people in 2045 will be better off, worse off, or the same as they are today? Of course, the majority responded worse off, but I want to know, do you share the same concern? Where do you think these concerns are coming from? Are you optimistic about the future? Yeah, I just want to get your opinion on that right quick.
Well, I must say that I may be an optimist, but I don't see us being worse off. The reality is we are at a crossroads in our nation's history. I'm sure that 5 years ago, this is not how we saw 2020 being. But this crossroads presents us with an opportunity for leadership. And going forward, it's going to require very strong leadership from our leaders in government, from our leaders in private sector, and from us as regular citizens, because it is going to, again, it will take a multi-stakeholder approach to fixing some of these issues. because the reality is civil society has a role to play. And we've been seeing the conversations about the Dry Harbor situation, where civil society has, in terms of from the environmental standpoint, been very adamant that they don't believe that this is something that should be taking place. We've heard the response from the Prime Minister, but we will need as a people to be very strong about the things that we believe in. And I think that is going to be fundamental in going forward. From an education standpoint, I can tell you that the equitability of opportunities is going to also be critical, because that will determine what takes place in the future. Because I think a lot of the conversation about being worse off is going to come from that. People don't feel, I'm a poor man from Montego Bay, from Norwood in St. James. I don't feel as if I'm having equal access or equal opportunity as though somebody else is having equal opportunity, is having their opportunities. And so if we don't address the equitability of many of these things and many of these opportunities that exist, then people will always be of that perception that things will be worse off. But again, it comes down to leadership from us as citizens, the persons who know better and want better for the country. It comes down to having and holding our governments accountable. It comes down to transparency in all of the activities that are happening. And it comes for us to be pushing our government to do better. And we have to make the same call for opposition, because we need our opposition to be on the bat just as well. So again, it's going to take a multi-stakeholder approach to ensure that we are not in a position where we're worse off as how persons may perceive it.
Right now. Right, thank you. And I think that provided context for, many of the issues. And I'm almost sure as I engage Samantha, that she would be sure to agree with me that many of those concerns are coming from, our health sector. So Samantha, the most prominent call from respondents on that same UN survey so far, and I hope you are realizing why it's so important to, have your voice heard by completing the survey, because that would have been what informed our questions today and how we engage you, because we're using, the information you have presented to us to guide the discussion. Right, so the survey, both locally and globally, our respondents are saying that better access to healthcare is a concern. And I'm pretty sure for those who said worse off, maybe it is that they are not optimistic, that the healthcare system is going to be better. So I would like for you, one, I definitely want you to touch on the layman's doctor to tell us, where that is coming from. We talk about putting things in layman's term. It's meaning, reaching the average person, putting it in as simple as possible. So, I definitely would want to hear, for you to just explain to us where that's coming from, and, what role does, access to information and technology, what role is that going to play in delivering quality healthcare?
Okay. Hi, everybody. So the name layman's doctor came to me when I was in 4th year of medical school, which is our penultimate year in our community health rotation. And what happened was that I saw firsthand what happens when there is a breakdown of communication, not only between healthcare workers and patients, but also in patients understanding how the healthcare system is ran and how it's done. In addition to that, what has happened for me in 2020 is that I've now expanded to include becoming a bridge for healthcare workers to the health system, in a sense where I think all of them are connected, and the better each one is the better impact they have on each other. So for example, I'm saying if for healthcare workers, there is more emphasis on well-being and there's less burnout and so on, then patient care is improved. If patients understand more about their own health issues and how to engage the system, then there's better access to health, and overall, it's just more efficient. And if we have a better health system as well, then it impacts both of those parties. So in terms of the question, education and access to information technology, well, I see education as empowerment for persons. And what that does, it allows you to be knowledgeable about how to engage the system and what to look for and where to go. Healthcare is something that affects everything. And everything also affects healthcare. So if you have a healthy population, then there's better economic growth and so on. But then you have things like transportation that affects persons' access to healthcare. Now, when we have this information and we have access to it, it gives persons more choice it gives them the ability to make decisions that impact their health. And it also lessens some of the burden on even health systems and other health systems and certain healthcare providers. Now, in Jamaica, I think especially in COVID-19, we've realized how important technology is now, and how persons having access to technology is so important. And earlier, Malik spoke about our internet penetration rate. And we now know that with technology, and we can further promote and reach a wider range of persons with this. So it can impact the quality of education that we deliver, because we're able to reach more persons using less, I will say, energy, or using less resources. So we can reach persons through social media, we can reach persons by even telemedicine. We are seeing now where you can access healthcare simply by calling. And that's something that's really, really beneficial, I believe, for improving healthcare in Jamaica.
Right, Samantha, I'm so happy that you touched on the telemedicare industry, just because I think that's where the innovation is going to come from. Yes, we're talking about education and access, but I believe a lot of that is going to be driven by how innovative we're going to become in this time. Before I go to Shamir, I would like for you to just talk about where nobody really knows when we're going to go back to normal. Is this going to be our new normal? Just how can we be proactive? Are there any other innovative ideas you want to share with the persons on the call? Maybe things they can do, maybe things our government can do, just to prepare us for what you believe may be our future, 5-10 years from now.
In terms of healthcare and healthcare delivery?
So, I mean, if you want, I know our panelists, you guys can go into different areas, so you're not restricted to healthcare, but of course your expertise in that area is also valued.
For me, what I think, if we want to come up with innovative strategies, we really have to look at the problems that we're having. What is preventing, we're focusing on young people now, what is preventing young people from getting health information? What are some of the gaps, and what are the things that they need more knowledge on? For me, one thing that I'm very focused on is sexual reproductive health rights, which is not something that we talk about a lot in our schools. So what has happened for persons to get that education is either they might get it from somewhere on the internet or from friends. And using that specific example, we can't rely necessarily on our education system, but there are several doctors, there are several organizations that spread information around these topics using TikTok, using YouTube videos, using Twitter, and that's just one example. So I think it's really important that we look at the problems and we look towards solving them. And we have to put our young people, I think, as well into categories. I always bring up my niece. She's just 7 years younger than me. And what she engages in, I live on Twitter, but she lives on Instagram and TikTok, right? So just looking at these patterns and you're saying, okay, there's some people I might be able to reach through Facebook, maybe like her parents and her aunts and her uncles, and some persons are more on Twitter, and then you have these new social media platforms that are coming up. But then we also have to know that we have traditional media that's really good as well. I still think there's a place for us to be able to grab persons who listen to the radio, read newspapers and television, because as we remember, not everyone, including young people from all over Jamaica, especially in our rural communities, have access to internet. So we kind of have to look at it twofold. Yes, we want to use technology and promote it, and we want to be able to speak to them, but we're going to have to work from the ground up, use what we already have, but also try and solve our problems by promoting greater access to internet especially, and using specific media and specific ways that will engage those persons.
Okay, no problem. I see that my participant numbers are going down, and everybody, we're actually aiming for 240, so I'm not sure why we're going in the wrong direction. I know you've been here with us for quite some time, so we are definitely appreciative for those persons who have stayed with us all this time. However, I'm encouraging everybody that's on the call, please just share it with somebody, if it's even one person. I do know that there are some persons who are with us on YouTube as well as our Instagram and Facebook. So I may not know how many people, but I do know. Oh, YouTube is going up. All right, so that's good. So maybe everybody's just on YouTube. That can work. That can work. You mentioned about Facebook, and you were saying that we are on Twitter, but you're saying the older persons, and I don't know. I would love to hear from Malik. If what are his views on Facebook and in terms of Jamaica, because I know that we believe a certain demographic uses Facebook in Jamaica, but I guess he can touch on that and using the different platforms. Does age matter? Do you need to consider when you're using a Twitter or Instagram? Do you have to consider the age factors, or do you just go out there and you share your media and they will find you? So I'm guessing, Malik, you can also include that in your response. As I said, I do want us to focus a lot on the innovation, just because I think we've definitely touched on how we're being impacted in terms of education and the access to information. But now we want to talk about, because innovation is what is really going to drive us in terms of how we move forward. And I think our next panelist is right in line for that, because reading his bio, you have Smart Term Limited, and that's an education management platform, which for me is innovation in itself. So I would love to hear from Shamir in terms of how he got started with that. Tell us a little bit about that platform. How are you using it to change lives? And then of course you can get into just telling us anything you want to add to the discussion first. I'll allow you to direct, and then if not, I will ask you exactly what I want to.
Right, perfect. Thank you guys for having me. Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, I'll dive a little bit into it. So I grew up in Jamaica, of course. Went to almost prep, then Campion College, and then after that went over to Howard University. There's a lot of Howard persons on the session, so shout out to my Howard people, right? So I studied computer engineering there, and I loved it. So I love software, so I focused mainly on that. And while at Howard, I realized how much we use technology in the classroom and in everything that we did. And growing up at school, we did not use much technology, but yet still we did really good in school. We learned a lot. We went overseas, we excelled in college, but then we didn't have access to the same set of resources. So right away, started to think out the box, like if we had technology in the classroom, what could we really accomplish? So in that, I started off my career. I did also stint at Microsoft. Then I went over to Goldman Sachs. I did a little bit investment banking tech. And, I was also ready to start learning about startup life and how to start transitioning, because I know I wanted to build something to help the region, Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean region. And in that, Smart Term was born. It was me and a couple colleagues of mine. We sat down, we started thinking about different ideas, came up with the idea that we should probably start looking at things that we could put in the classroom. So we started off with the school management system. We focused on digitizing data for our schools. So student records, teacher records, grades, stuff like that. We wanted to ensure that we provided a holistic solution. So then we also included in that same package, in that same management platform, a learning management system, which digitized the classroom. So allowing teachers to give assignments, allowing students to submit those assignments online, and really start that interaction. In all of that, we wanted to make sure that all aspects and all processes that schools would use to operate was also captured online. So we started adding all these modules into the platform to represent what schools are. So in a sense, when you think about Smart Term, think about virtual schools. And I know that some of you guys are familiar with some of the other tools out there. So like when you think about Zoom, think of video conferencing. When you think of Google Classroom, think about virtual classrooms. When you think of Smart Term, think about virtual schooling, which we take all aspects of schools and put it online. One of the biggest aspects of school that is missing today, and I'll touch on this and then we could punt it back over to you to kind of focus on some of the questions. One of the things that we miss today with going online for schooling, you'll realize that we're losing the social engagement features of school. The students are not necessarily interacting with their friends. It's more so the teachers and the students mostly on an everyday basis, and it's mostly teaching content. When I was at school, one of the biggest things I loved was my friends, right? We were in clubs, we were in sports, we were doing all these things. It's a big part of why we went to school, right? That kind of social engagement, and that's not there today. So while we're operating and while we're in all these schools and we're helping them with their actual delivery of the content between teacher and student and actually managing their records, some of the biggest things that we're seeing is student engagement. And I kind of want to focus on that a bit because I know we don't know the real impact or how it will actually impact our students going forward, not being able to interact and socialize with their friends and colleagues. But we have been focusing on putting in features, bells and whistles to be able to facilitate those type of social engagements, whether it's extracurricular activities or clubs, being able to just chat with your friends through a chat or video conference, one-on-one call your friends and starting to have those conversations again is very important. So our platform actually facilitates that. I think that's a big aspect of what we forget when we think about schooling. We focus mainly on the content and the educational resources, but we don't actually focus on a lot of the social pieces, which also makes you who you are and is also a big part of the way you learn, right? So those are some of the things I wanted to throw out there. And yeah, we can dive back in on some of the questions. But
yes, definitely. And being a teacher, I've seen that firsthand. I mean, yes, they love the online tool, meaning some of them, for those who are using the tools in the ways that they can, but they always say to me, boy, I really just want to go to school and see my friends. And as you rightfully said, it's a big part of what we have forgotten, and it makes them now, for some of my students, they now start to have like a negative attitude towards school, because now it's like, oh, school doesn't bring me that enjoyment anymore, which then affects learning, because then they just shut me, they shut out the teachers and shut out us, because we're like, they're focusing on the fact that I'm unhappy, I'm just at home, there's nothing else. I will commend some schools though, because I do know there's one particular school that I wasn't able to have classes with that particular student on Fridays because they do netball, which is a sport apparently through Zoom. And I was interested to hear how that works, but they do their training through Zoom. I do know, I'm not sure, he said, obviously you went to school in Jamaica, like with no champs even happening last year. I know that must have affected our athletes, especially just mentally, you know what I mean? Like that's what they, especially being around some of my friends who were athletes, I know that's what they go to school and look forward to. You're training the entire year, and now that's not there. So it's just, maybe a sense of purpose that feels lost and all of that.
And I'll just throw one last thing in there on the end of that. One of us froze. Is it me?
Touched on that before I go back into the other present. Okay, yeah, but yeah, and before you go, I also just wanted to point out, I wanted you to also touch on specifically girls in STEM. So it's STEM, but I also want you to focus a bit on how we can engage our girls. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. All right, so today I don't see any systematic barriers that will prevent our girls from diving into STEM and STEM related areas. What we do see though is a lot of social and maybe cultural barriers there that we need to kind of break. We kind of need to break that perception so that we can, welcome our girls into STEM. So we've actually worked with YCDI and a couple other groups to facilitate STEM women in STEM education. The need for that is to bring diversity and a lot of different thinking around the solutions that we want in our countries. Any solution coming out today is something relating to technology or the STEAM field. And I say STEAM because we throw arts in there as well. But most of the things coming out of this today, you'll see that we need diversity. We need a lot of opinions to be able to create and cultivate the right solutions to our problems. So working with persons like Godiva, I reached out the other day. We're both in Global Shapers. Brittany as well, Brittany Singh. Global Shapers, these are two individuals doing work around some of those things. And I went to Leon McNaughton on the YCDI side of things, same thing. So there are efforts, and in every country that you go to, there are efforts focused on women getting into the STEM space. So I love that. I love seeing that. It's very encouraging. So they're going straight into the school system and they're addressing that, and they're pulling girls out. They're doing hackathons and stuff like that. So they just finished Girls in ICT Day. There was a massive hackathon around that, and there was a lot of agri-technology coming out of that. So I heard them mention earlier on the call, agriculture, I believe. I think Malik did that earlier to one of his responses, and you saw that the winner coming out of that, and they're representing, I think, Jamaica at the IBM level as well. You'll see that agri-tech was the winning product there out of that Girls in ICT hackathon. But yes, there's no systematic barriers, it's just culture and social. So anything we can do to kind of change that narrative, getting into the school system and kind of encouraging them to take more of those courses or join the clubs that facilitate that. Over time, what you also see is that the parents are changing their perspective a little bit. Now you have to understand culture. It takes a while before it cycles through, right? So one of the things is that parents are also now, kind of understanding that girls are very popular in that space today. And they're seeing that more and more when you turn on your television, when you look at the person that ran Canva, for example, right? So the person that ran Canva from Australia, she's now built a top of the line product that everybody on this call uses. And if you don't use Canva, please go and get it today, right? But the reality of it is that a woman innovator, she's doing that. And you're seeing more and more of these persons come up every day, and they're making themselves very present in this space. And as that happens, it will encourage more and more women and girls to dive into the STEAM space and start adding value there. I love it because it brings a lot of diversity to the solutions that we have. So.
Yeah, no man, I was saying, yes. And Samantha, I see over there smiling ear to ear, so I'm gonna have to come over to you. But just to provide context to the conversations that we were having here, in the room, as you were speaking, we know that our personal experience is that some of the high schools, even in Jamaica, it's almost as if we kind of steer, our girls to go into certain subjects. So I think even that, I don't know if you consider that a systematic issue, Shamir, but you mentioned cultural barriers and stuff like that. But I saw Samantha, definitely I could tell that she had, either it was really resonating or she wanted to add. So I'm gonna hand over to Samantha just to see, what was going through her mind while you were speaking.
Really and truly, when Shamir was speaking, I was just like, yeah, when he mentioned Canva, I was like, yeah, Canva is top notch. Really and truly, if you're not using it, you need to use it. And he also mentioned quite a few persons who I think are amazing and great examples of women in STEM. So it was more resonating than anything. And he said a lot that was just correct and very insightful. So that was why I was
for. Vijay, I'm going to ask you to also, give your comments on anything that maybe whether Samantha or Shamir has said, but I also want you to lead into my next question, which is going to be for all the panelists, so you can start thinking about this. It's one of the questions from the survey, so I keep hinting to the survey, which we know everybody has filled out already because it's only 4 questions, 1 minute. But one of the questions would have asked, when you picture the world you want 25 years, in 25 years, what are 3 things you would want most, to see or, to be happening? And I would just want, if it's even one thing from each of you. So Suji, I'm going to give you some time to think about that while I just do a quick announcement, which was, I realized earlier the Mentimeter, we had asked persons to fill it out. However, you got stuck at question 1. I just wanted to reiterate that the link is good to go. I believe we posted it again. Maybe we can even just drop it further down, since I know some persons maybe it was further up. But 2 things I really want you to be focusing on is your responses to the survey and your responses to the Mentimeter, right? Because that's how we're going to get your voices, and then the team here at UN, they'll be able to implement it in the decisions that they're going to make and the discussions that they're going to have with other global leaders. So it's very important for you to not only be here watching and taking in all the lovely gems, but as I said, to have your voice heard. So my technical team, they're going to put back the links, and of course be sure to use the hashtag UN75, hashtag UN Jamaica. You can do it on Twitter, you know, Facebook, Instagram, all of the things we've been speaking about. Of course, Facebook for Malik. And for those of you who are watching, you can feel free to do the same. Share with, you know, even if it's not you telling somebody to join, maybe somebody will see one of the gems that you are sharing from the seminars. So we don't want to be stingy with the information. The information is here for all of us, and it's for you to just share in whatever way you can so that it can have that ripple effect that Malik was talking about earlier. So Sajay, I think I gave you, gave you enough time to think about something. So I'm gonna hand over to you, and so you can take it away.
All right, thank you, Michaela. I think Shamir did a very good job, and Samantha did a very good job as well in terms of painting the picture that relates to the health sector, and the things that needed to be done currently. I know Minister Tufton is working hard to fix some of the systematic issues that exist within the health industry. But one of the things I want to see in our future society is greater access to education. I think that is something that is fundamental if we're going to have a better society, if we're going to have a futuristic society. And greater access has to lead to the conversation about cost for education. Globally, we know about the No Student Debt campaign that is going on. We see it in the US. Because the reality is the cost for an education is somewhat of a direct and also an indirect barrier to education. It's a barrier by basis of enrollment numbers. Persons don't get enrolled because they can't afford education. It is a barrier in the sense of persons staying within an institution, and the retention levels may go because persons realize that while they're in the institution, they can't afford to stay within the institution. And also in terms of matriculation, we had a case just recently, and I must just make a shameless plug, where we had a donation by NCD Foundation here in Jamaica, where they donated $25 million, and that assisted students who were on the very brink of graduating, but they did not have the funds to pay the last part of what was needed to be paid, and they would have assisted about 200 students by their donation. So the reality is, would it be access in terms of entering an institution, would it be retaining and staying in an institution, or would it be matriculating from the institution? That is a conversation that must be had. And so greater access to education is important. However, there are a number of important questions that must be asked if we're going to really arrive at the solution to these problems. And these include, one, how much support is enough from the government? How much support is enough from the private sector? We know about PATH, which is our program for advancement through health and education that is in Jamaica. How much support is enough? And what should what is the role and what should each citizen play in terms of functioning within the education sector? So these are some of the critical questions that we must ask. Some students, even though they may be able to pay for their classes, they may not be able to afford the transportation costs. Even though students may be able to pay for their tuition fees, as is the case with the University of the West Indies Mona campus now, with our medical science students, they may not be able to afford their PPE equipment, the personal protective equipment, which is a conversation that is ongoing now. And so the concern that I have is about access, and it's around cost, because cost plays a great role in terms of the barrier. And I'm just going to put another shameless plug. If you're interested in making a donation to the University of the West Indies Guild, because our students really need to get back on the wards, and some students have expressed a challenge, and this is an open call to the UN. You may make a donation to our students. It would be very greatly welcomed in terms of the PPE support.
Okay, and Sajay, like the true student leader you are, of course, you have to use every opportunity to ask for the assistance. I always say, whether you ask and they say no, rather than you don't ask. So it doesn't hurt to ask. Maybe they can't go the full way, but I'm pretty sure, knowing UN and the work that they do, I'm pretty sure they will provide some assistance to you and the students over at the UA Mona. So, you know, because Samantha always put you second, I'm going to switch it up a little bit. So Shamir, you can go ahead. It's just the same question, just one thing. I'm pretty sure you've maybe been thinking about it. If you need me to repeat the question, that's fine as well.
One thing I'd like to see in 25 years, correct?
That's correct.
Perfect. Right. So for me, digital literacy. So I'll focus on that. Going into March, when COVID just hit, one of the biggest issues we saw was digital literacy across the board, right? How many persons can use a device? How many persons can use the internet? How many persons can actually open up Microsoft Word, for example, or who even knows what Microsoft Word is, right? These are the challenges that we're going into. So even though we were solving problems like video conferencing and put your school online in 3 days, and we were pushing the mark, but then you put them in front, you give them a username and password, and you're like, go to this URL and sign in, and then you quickly realize they're like, what's a URL, what's a browser, right? So there's a massive need to improve or increase the digital literacy rate across the country, across the region in general. And in 25 years from now, I'd love to see every single person knowing how to use technology, whether it's through a phone, whether it's through a laptop or a computer, being able to do that. Because once they can do that, they'll realize that the opportunities are endless. They'll realize that I can go on YouTube and learn a skill, right? Then we can start bringing in Tech Voc and say, hey, you know, go learn these couple skills and actually do your practical online, get your certifications online, and start doing these things. And we already know when you put opportunity in front of our people, it's a completely different. You'll see talent come out the woodwork. We'll see people, you know, gravitate towards things they're passionate about, because then they realize the opportunities that are online. Malik made reference to it earlier as well. You know, once you're online, there's so much things that you can go after, just go after them, right? So I want to make sure that everybody has access to technology, they can use it, and they can start now pursuing opportunities, endless opportunities. And that's what I would love to see. So then we give them a chance in this kind of fourth industrial revolution space, this kind of global marketplace. We give everyone a chance to actually go after things and be competitive. So that's what I would love to see.
Okay, and I know that, you know, our audience, you must have questions as well. So before I go to Samantha, just to ensure again that we kind of touch on everybody's, you know, concerns or just things that you would love to hear from our panelists, I'm going to allow Samantha to speak, and then I'm going to have Renee come back and present the Mentimeter results. So in that time, you know, we will share your questions with the panelists just so that they can give one final response by trying to also include, you know, any of the questions that you may have versus asking them individually. So if you do have any questions, now is the time to share those with us so that we can share them with the panelists. And panelists, this is my charge to you to let you know, of course, when you're giving your final response as best as possible, just try to touch on, you know, anything that has been asked in the questions. Malik, I see that the video is off. That's fine. Just prompting you that we're very close to the end and we'll definitely want the final words. And of course, we sent him the questions as well, right? So you can, you know, also include your response to the questions. So Samantha, I'm gonna hand it over to you.
In 25 years, a very obvious response for me would be access or more equitable healthcare. But I'm actually going to answer something else that I think is so important, and that's giving persons in our country the opportunity to go after their dreams and give back in a way that still allows them to live a comfortable life and be able to make a means for themselves. And what I mean by this is I'd actually like to touch on Citizens Response JA, for example, where we've seen innovation out of need. And I think we fail to realize that in Jamaica, we have so many persons who, if given a chance, they can create things that you'd never think they're able to. And we see this a lot when we see persons make motorized hand carts, for example. And I would love to see a country that invests in its people and allows its people to go after their dreams, and they're not so caught up, or we are not so caught up in making ends meet that we fail to actualize our potential. I think that we have several intelligent persons here and innovative persons here, and we see it now where a lot of people are really creating and innovating in this time of COVID. And imagine if persons just didn't have to think about where the next meal was coming from, or didn't have to think about how they're going to reach to school and whatnot, that we would have so many, we'd have a community of creators and innovators, then we would become sustainable as a country. So I think to round it all up, at the end of it, in 25 years, I want us to be more sustainable, simply because we invest in our people and allow them to think beyond just providing for themselves, and giving them the opportunity to explore their interests and their dreams and whatever goals they have.
Thank you so much to our panelists. As I said, I'm not sure if there are any questions. I'm not seeing any. So what we will do is we will hand over to Renee to share with us the results from the Mentimeter. I'm not sure if our panelists want to share any social media platforms. Maybe persons don't have the questions right now, but they could reach out to you after to engage you. So feel free to share them in the chat just so that everybody can see, just while we wait for them to reach out to you. We're going to go back to the Mentimeter survey to see what those results looked like. And then we, of course, will hear our closing remarks from Malik, and then we'll head out. Over to you, Renee.
Hi again, everyone. So yes, the Mentimeter. I mean, I'm looking at some of the comments before we go on. I'm looking at some of the comments that were put up, you know, women's empowerment and that kind of thing. So our question is, what do you expect from Jamaica over the? Can we go back to like 2 slides? Sorry. Right, over the next 10 years. And I asked you, women's empowerment pops out. I mean, it was actually one of the things that pops out when I was looking at the results of this, that over the next, what do you expect to evolve? And we're expecting more gender equality. So that goes right in line with the women's empowerment. So it's kind of in line with what everybody's talking about. And another thing was sustainability. I think that's what I heard Samantha talking about, sustainability, and sustainable economy, and equity. I think I heard some conversation. So all of the, I think those things are what are coming out right here that we want to see. These are what we expect to happen more. Unfortunately, the top one with the violence and crime, we expect a little bit more than average violence and crime, unfortunately, but hopefully. Oh, good, somebody just answered and changed it, and it's gone down. So, you know, and I think environmental sustainability and preservation is there, and the impact on climate change. And these two are probably the highest ranked ones, and what we're looking for more of going forward. Next slide quickly. So the future of Jamaica in one word: environmentally friendly and resilient. I think resilience, sums it up. Resilient to environmental issues, resilient to health issues, resilient to economic shocks. So resilience is what we're looking for in one word. And the last slide, I believe it is. No, right. And this is the one that, you know, which is most applicable. What is needed for youth empowerment? And as I said before, this is not about the young people. This is not about the older people. It's about the younger people. It's about development. And just about everything on this youth empowerment slide, everybody strongly agrees with and gives them extremely high rates. So reduction in violence and crime, quality education, availability of data, work opportunities, access to tertiary education, equal opportunities for young men and women, quality accessibility of social services. And I think, yeah, that pretty much sums it up. I think we had a page with some words about what we want to see, what's crucially needed. Motivation, guidance, employment, goes back, better economy, shape education, shape the education in the country, relevant, more focus on agriculture, which I think with sustainability, gender equality, community mentorship, economic. I think mentorship is big if we want the country to continue. So thank you guys for participating, and it will be included. Your voice will be heard in the Common Country analysis. Thank you so much. All right, take care. Bye.
Thank you so much, Renee. And I'm not sure if you ended up filling out the Mentimeter, but I'm pretty sure if not, you would have seen some of the things that you resonate with coming out from there. And if you have not filled out the Mentimeter, right, you still have until tonight to do so, as well as the survey. And so I'm going to ask my technical team to share one more time, because you know what, we're heading to the final home run. So I just want it to be a case where everybody ensures that your voice is heard whenever you are, right, and share with some friends. I'm being told, remember, we're going for the 240 because we're all sharing it with 3 friends. But it's just so important. I always say to persons, whenever you come to a conference or anything like this, you're basically you've spent 2 to 3 hours with me. It can't be that you just wanted to spend 2 to 3 hours sitting down listening. Like, there has to be something greater from it. You have to go into these type of sessions having purpose, and you're being intentional about it. So earlier I saw somebody, when Malik was talking, somebody said, hint hint, I don't mind an internship at Facebook. And as funny as it may be, like something like that, you come in the room and that is what you put in the atmosphere. It means that is what, if he really needed somebody and he saw that, he would probably reach out to that person, because that person put their intentions out into the atmosphere. And so it's so important for you to come to these sessions being very intentional about it, and ensuring that whatever contribution you have, because all of your contributions are valued here, just ensure that you share them. So I'm gonna head over back to Malik, and he's gonna share his final words with us. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be high energy again, and everything is gonna be great. So we just want to check that Malik is here. So yes, and his camera is back on. Yes. Yes, and he's even doing the fingers, he was waiting, he was waiting to get back with us.
Hey guys, it's me again. Thank you so much to everyone for an amazing conference. UN 75, huge success, ton of value that was shared. And I hope that for those of you who attended, the way I like to look at conferences is, if I can get one nugget, one gem of information that will really strike a chord with me, that will challenge me to think critically, that will force me to reevaluate how I see the world and my perspective, it's worth it. That's it. And that's something that I've learned, that's how successful people approach learning. They don't look at how long the book is. Oh, we're on here for 2 hours, whatever. They look for that one piece of information that, if in the right hands, like I told you guys, it'll change everything. And so what I want to remind you guys as we wrap up is that most people, they don't fail because they aim too high and miss. They fail because they aim too low and hit. And so I want to challenge you guys to actually think bigger about what's possible for your own life, what's possible for your local community, what's possible for your country, and just what's possible in the world in general. You are the future. You are the youth. You are the innovators. You are the educators that we are going to look to. And you have everything that you need. Many of us, like I like to say, are actually standing in our own field of diamonds. And there's an old story that kind of gets at this concept where it's like, we overlook the opportunities that are right in front of us, hoping that, the grass is greener on the other side. And so when I'm telling you guys these stories about how the internet and social media and innovation is happening right before our eyes, and you have everything that you need like right in front of you, you may be like, well, not me. Well, only if you live in America, or only if you have this, that, and the third economic opportunities. And, you don't think that you have what you actually need. And we love chasing like the hot jobs or the hot trends. And we don't usually take a stock of like, what do we have and how can we actually take advantage of that to the fullest? And the story that illustrates this is actually like the Field of Diamonds story. So there was like one wealthy Persian farmer, and his name was Ali. And he started just hearing crazy stories about people getting like filthy rich, discovering diamond mines and all this kind of stuff. So he sold his farm, he left his family, literally was like, dude, I'm on that, right? It was like the Bitcoin of the times way back in the day. And he spent the rest of his life wandering across Africa, like searching for diamonds without success. And finally, at the end of his life, he was totally broke, totally desperate, and he threw himself into a tidal wave in Barcelona and drowned. And one day, the man who actually purchased his farm, was just doing his daily due diligence or whatever, and stumbled across a really large and unusual black stone. He was just walking in the field that he bought and just tripped and fell. And guess what it was? A diamond. And it was huge. And the farm, turns out, was actually covered with all sorts of rare gems. And it actually became one of the most successful diamond mines in the world at that time. And literally, we're talking about Ali had everything he needed right under his feet. An abundance of wealth, but he sold it for such a cheap price, hoping that he could find something outside of himself that would be the solution. And the reason I tell this story is to drive home the one core message that you should take is that you can do it. You are the future. We're looking to you, and there's nothing else that you need. It's not complicated. I'm not saying it's easy. It's going to take time and effort, but it's not complicated. It's quite simple. And if you just take that one step, and then the next, and then the next, and then the next, sooner than later, you'll look up and you'll be at the top of the mountain, and you'll be amazed by how far you came. And the last thing I want to remind yourself is I want to give you that message of hope to let you know that you can do it, and we're counting on you to be the innovators. But I also want to ground this in reality and saying that however long you think it's going to take to get to the top of the mountain is going to take way longer, probably 10 times as long as you think it's going to take. So be ready for that, right? But don't despair, don't lose hope, don't be become by anxiety, right? Go a little harder, take care of yourself, meditate, reflect, take breaks, know when to push and when to push back, right? But most of all, find a process that you can obsess over. Find something that excites your curiosity. So when you're on this treacherous journey, right, this journey that's taking forever, you're overcome by just joy and gratitude because you're serving your community, you're living in your purpose, you're doing what you need to do, and you're making progress every single day. If you can do that, if you can understand that you have everything that you need and just start now, as imperfect as you are, as hard as it is, as much as you don't understand, just start and just keep going and know that you are the key, right? But you understand that patience, patience, patience. We need patience, we need faith, we need grace to actually succeed in this marathon. You understand those two dichotomies, you'll have everything that you need. And if you don't, then who will? We're counting on you. Black Lotus out.
Wow, I feel like after that closing statement, I should just let's end it there. There's nothing more to say. No, but that was absolutely phenomenal. And again, I think what I love most about what you've said throughout this entire presentation, Malik, is you're always so practical. You're always, it's not hairy fairy, oh, do well, believe. No, it's you're telling us, use what you have now. You're giving us the examples. You're letting us have no more excuses because you're telling us that we can do everything with what we have right now. And I'm so happy you said, it's not that it's going to be easy, but you're just saying it's not impossible. And, again, just through my own experiences, that's definitely what I've experienced. It's not that it's easy, but, I'm pretty sure what I have done in this pandemic, your opportunity, I can tell you all your opportunities right there waiting on you. And sometimes you just have to start. I know for me, I have my own anxiety disorders, and I'll be open with that with persons all the time because I'm also a mental health advocate. I developed that, funny enough, when I was guild president, and I always say to persons, especially in a pandemic, we speak about healthcare, and sometimes we only think about the physical health and how corona is affecting us physically, but what about mentally? You talk about education, so many of our students are not doing well mentally. It's really taking a toll. The parents who have to provide all of that. So I just was happy that I feel like you were also preparing us mentally for what this journey would be like. It's not just about the resources, it's about your attitude, it's about your perspective, it's about, okay, when I read a book, as you said, it's not the seminar and saying, oh, it's 2 or 3 hours long. It's, okay, how long is it going to take me to get that one nugget? And I'm willing to stay as however long it takes me to get that one nugget. So I just definitely appreciate all you have said. It was our absolute pleasure to have you here with us. I feel like I'm going to go back to the recording, and you can too, because it's on YouTube, it's on Facebook, it's on all of our social media platforms, because there's some Twitter gems in there. I usually drop my gems on Twitter, so I may I don't want to plagiarize, so don't worry, I will at you, Black Lotus, but definitely there were some gems in there. So before I kind of just wrap up and put everything into perspective, of course, there are many persons we have to thank, of course, our panelists. I know they maybe, will have to go soon. We have the layman's doctor, Samantha, she gave us, the insight, and I'm happy she didn't even box herself into just healthcare because she touched on other things. So thank you so much, Samantha, for being here with us. We have Mr. Optimistic, Sujay. Boy, every time you speak about Jamaica, I just, when they say, you live where I vacation, and you're like, which Jamaica you living in? Sometimes when Sujay talking, I'm like, are we living in the same Jamaica? But he fills you with so much hope and positivity. So, just continue to be optimistic, Sujay. You're doing a fabulous job. I know, it's the journey for Guild President. It's just started. You're definitely doing more than I think I would at that time during the pandemic. I think I would just be freaking out at this time. So definitely you are doing a fabulous job. You're keeping your students under control, and the fact that they can look to you for leadership, I think that is just absolutely phenomenal. So, I wish you all the best, and I hope the UN will hear your plea for that assistance. You see, I gave you the plug as well. Don't worry about it. I have your back. And definitely by no means least, our innovator, Shamir, you definitely showed us that for those persons who are in technology, you can go ahead and innovate, create. I'm especially happy because I know sometimes when I was even in high school and you think about, the Facebook and the new technology, you kind of thought, oh, it had to be developed by persons who were not Jamaicans, because you just don't think at that time, or I don't know if it was for for everybody, but I can say for myself, it just felt like all of these new things and, innovative stuff are from persons who are smarter than us and all of that. But you have shown us that we have, as Malik said, everything we need. You just need to tap into the information. It is there for all of us. Malik, I'm going to save your thank you for last, because I think we have to give you another round of thank yous. The Governor General, the Governor General Program for Excellence, definitely as our partner in the I Believe initiative. We definitely could not have done it without the team that, was over there helping us. The United Nations Association of Jamaica, of course, those two groups, they are the reason we are having this forum today. So we definitely have to send a big thank you to them. We have our UN resident coordinator. I know Gary Conneal, I know you'll be coming back on, but we want to say a big thank you for all of your support. Renee, or Mentimeter translator, she kept pressing me. She said, come on, we have to get the data, we have to get the results. We want to thank you as well, Renee, for being here with us. Of course, our Honorable Minister of Education, Youth and Information, Favour Williams, that was an excellent presentation. I know my faith, in terms of what's going to happen, talking to Sujay about leadership, knowing that, our Minister for Information and Youth and all of that is her mind is in the right place. Clearly, she has the competence to take us there. I'm definitely elated to just provide any assistance we can to her, and I'm pretty sure you can, whether it is through your ideas. Just let her know how, what you want and how you can be there to support her as well. Can't forget Damario. I don't know if he's still on the call, but Damario with his lovely singing and flinging and everything else, you were the life of the party. Malik, I know you said that your best friend is Jamaican, because I was like, how Malik making so much Jamaican references? I was like, no, this is not just from YouTube. Somebody around him is Jamaican, and it is clear, Malik, you gave yourself away, but we're gonna be very thankful to that best friend. Even the accent, I must say, is a little bit authentic. So big up to the best friend, right? Big up. And to all of our speakers, once again, thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're not seeing them, but the technical assistants here with me, people, they have been holding it down. They've been giving me the information instead of the slips of paper. They're just keeping me going so that, and they were fabulous. To be honest, there were very few hiccups, I think. Boy, planning all of this when everybody is so far is one thing. When, everybody's in a physical space and you can talk to plan things. I do know, there must have been challenges, but I just did not see them. And so Jermaine and Max, just congratulations to you two as well. You were fabulous. To anybody else in the UN building and team that's helped out, we just want to say thank you. Again, before I go to Malik, because again, I'm just so grateful, like personally as me, for all you have said, for the persons who stayed with us this entire time, because our audience, if you are not here, whether you are on the Zoom call, again, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, if it was not for you, this presentation would have just flown over everybody. So, you know, I'm just so happy that you stayed. I hope you did get that one nugget that Malik was talking about. You know, he was saying with great responsibility, with great power comes great responsibility, and our responsibility leaving out of this session is to not let it just fall on our ears and nothing happens. Like, you have to do something with the information. You know what I mean? Whatever that passion is, go and start it. Like, again, I know starting is not easy. That one I will tell you, Malik, but what you're saying is right. Like, you just have to start. Like, don't think you have to. Funny enough, even recently I started something on my Instagram, and I mentioned to persons that I was saying, okay, no, I'm gonna get the right chair, the right camera, the right lights, the right this, and I made a list of all the right things I needed to get before starting. And then I was like, you know what, forget it, I'm just gonna start. And you know, and persons ended up loving it. And so, as you said, you have everything you need right now. Don't be like, what's his name, was it Oli or Oli? Don't be like him. Don't give up your diamonds, your feel of diamond, to go ahead. You know, like, just own your moment, people. It's the power is within us. We have everything we need. I know it sounds very cliche, but trust me, it is within you. You just have to focus in the right direction. So it's not a matter of focusing on everything, but focusing on the things that really ignite your passion and the things that are within your purpose. And you know, the universe will do the rest. And so we're just so grateful for everybody that was here with us. Again, a big thank you. I hope I'm not forgetting anybody or anything, but the last thing I'm going to leave you with is just start. Whatever it is, whatever change you want to make, whatever you want to do for yourself, just start. I am Michaela Gonzalez, and it was my absolute pleasure to be your moderator for today. And I hope you will engage with us even beyond now. So bye, everyone.
Yeah, can you hear that? Oh, can't you hear that? Let me hear you play now. I want you to know that I am the man who fights for the right, not for the wrong. And talking that, soon you will find out the man I'm supposed to be. Know this man, and I don't trouble no